Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Spitball. I'm here with my good buddy.
Kyle Amundsen.
And, yeah. How you doing, man?
Fantastic. Yeah. It's, we're balls deep in the holiday season and...
balls deep indeed.
We got, some legit snowfall and...
yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, man. I don't think I've ever shoveled so much in my fucking life as I did the other day. I think I shoveled probably a city block. At one point, I shoveled a street.
So I have this elbow injury, so I'm not really supposed to do anything. And I was like, oh man, I gotta go and I'm gonna have to go shovel snow. And I mean, I wouldn't have to, but there's a whole family here. But I feel like it's my manly responsibility to move some snow. So I went out to Home Depot and I was gonna buy a shovel, and they had this little Ryobi electric snow thrower, and I was like, oh, yeah.
Is that what you did the beautiful job out there with?
Okay, well, there's a story involved.
Fair enough.
So I get this snow thrower, and it's pretty badass. And it was $45, and you plug it in, and I got a hell of a long extension cord, and I'm out there throwing snow. And, that we got a foot, maybe more than a foot of snow here. So, I'm out there grinding along, and then the neighbor with the John Deere came by and completely unmanned me. Just was like, get out of my way, essentially, and just.
You were driving a Prius, and he was driving a big jacked up Ford pickup.
Yeah. But well, at least my elbow doesn't hurt.
And I can say Ford pickup because I don't think a lot of the people that watch our show are guys that are militant in the whole Ford versus Chevy argument.
Yeah, I've never got that, honestly.
Me neither. But I can't say that I've never. Participated in anything like that because, when I was a younger man, I used to do the whole Vikings Packers thing. Really, all that sort of stuff. It's almost the same thing. It's just a, yeah.
I think it goes back to wanting to be part of a tribe, but I'm like, if your tribe identity is a brand name of a fucking vehicle, that's a really weird thing,
right? I read when I buy a vehicle, I do my homework.
Right,
because a lot of research and stuff like that,
and it's very vehicle specific. It's not like what's the best brand of pickup. It's like what's the best pickup of this particular year, and is this one good? And there's so many. And
see, I don't think that by and large, I don't think most of the guys that participate in those arguments. I think those arguments are just fun, because those guys, I've got a buddy that's he definitely participates in that, but. He's not, but then if you ask him about a certain, I think he's a Dodge guy, but he does, but his Dodge, Ford, Chevy or whatever, and he'll totally participate in the conversation or whatever. But then if you ask him his feelings about a certain truck or whatever, we were talking about my dad's truck, which is a GM product, and he's like, no, those are great trucks. He's like, they'll fucking pull the shit out of anything.
Right. He'll know specifically about
to me, because I don't participate in that argument. He's just totally, he doesn't have a dog in the fight, or I don't have a dog in the fight, so he can be completely honest with me. But if I was somebody that did have a dog in that fight, then he would be like, fucking piece of shit,
I find that just silly. I actually even find the whole sports thing silly, and it's really weird. It is really weird to me that people actually get upset when their team loses.
That happens to me too, though. The Vikings got their shit pushed in on Monday Night Football in front of God and everybody last night. And, well, it doesn't ruin my week like it used to. I find that
it would really even ruin your week.
Well, I'm probably overstating that, but but anymore, fuck, my week would have been better had they won.
Do you remember the year the Vikings went what did they go 15-1? The laces out year where the kicker fucked it up at the very end of the. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's 3 years in recent history.
No, this was 2000. I'm by no means a sports
how
fan,
old were we then?
2002.
It might have been.
No. I mean, this is relatively recent. I remember it very clearly because my mom was alive then, and she always liked to watch the football game. She was very weird about it, though. She would watch the football game, but she'd only listen to the commentary on the radio. She wouldn't allow, like, you could not listen to the.
That's because of people like Booger McFarlane and fucking total idiots that shouldn't, like.
Right.
There's that whole school of thought where people think that because a guy played in the NFL, people want to hear what he has to say, even if he is even if he speaks English like it's a fucking second language, and he's a goddamn moron. But
so
that's common.
That year, I can't remember what year it was. I'm sure somebody out there knows for sure because it was. But the Vikings were just killing it, and then at the last game before they were gonna, I don't know, go to the Super Bowl or whatever.
Probably the NFC Championship game. Do you remember? Were they playing the Atlanta Falcons?
Dude.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but the kicker fucked it up, and he missed the kick, and he had like the best record of any kicker that year or something like that. You got nothing. You don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think I do know what you're talking about.
They called it the laces out year, because he, the laces out, and they're like the.
Well, then that's
Ace Ventura.
That's alluding to a holder's mistake.
It's alluding to Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
Well, yeah,
because he was all like the laces out. Yeah.
But then that was Dan Marino's fault.
Right, in Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
I feel like I am diving down a rabbit hole that I have no idea. All I was going to say was I remember my mom was like fucking livid right after that game. And I remember walking out of the Eclectic Cafe and I went downtown, and everybody in the bars were watching, and people were just coming out on the streets, and it was just so like they were all shocked and subdued and everything. And I was just like, this is a really interesting thing because I don't have the gene to care about a sports team. I don't have the brain to remember like stats or numbers or dates or any of that. And I just don't think, it's like, I enjoy watching a game if it's like close and fun to watch, but I just don't care who wins, almost ever. The only exception to that is MMA fights, and the only exception to that is when I intimately know the person, like sure. I've rolled with them and trained with them. Then I have an emotional response to it. But other than that, it's just like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, if it's a.
But I was just shocked at how. So last.
Like if it's a fighter that you feel a deep connection with, someone that you really love and admire, like Chris Kosachak or whatever, something. He was great.
You ever I met him, right?
Yeah.
And he hit on my wife.
Yeah.
Right in front of me.
Yeah.
And I said, "Hey, Chris, I just wanted to introduce you to my wife, Jess." He goes, "Hey, what's up? What are you doing later? Did you miss my wife?" And then it was 15 minutes later, and Brock broke him. So that was fun.
He was a douche.
He really was a douche. He was really tough and good guy. Yeah. And Brock didn't break him on purpose, I don't think. But if he did, it's okay with me. Right. But yeah, it was kind of a fluke thing. I think he broke his rib. But it was like 15 minutes into training because Koscheck came up to get ready for a fight, and then Brock fucked him up. Whoopsie daisy.
Yeah.
So we have a helmet in front of us.
Some gear here.
So if you guys don't know, you may not, but Kyle and I are into The Mandalorian. And we've been watching this series and everything. And I like to do these little art projects. And this is a helmet that I made for Kyle's ginormous head because he couldn't get the dragon helmet on.
It's all or 5 gallons of like any kind of fluid, whatever.
I think it's more than 5 gallons. I was looking at different patterns to make a helmet, and the largest size that it would go up to is like 23 inches, and Kyle's head is 24.5 inches, which is a huge head. But it turned out pretty good.
This fucking thing is dope.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah. It turned out good. I've been working on it for a while. So, yeah, The Last Mandalorian was pretty badass.
Well, yeah, it was. But, just mostly just because not just because I love Westerns, because that walker was cool, too.
Very cool.
I mean, the way they made it like a monster. That, I was, honestly, that series overall, if I had to give it a rating 1 through 10, I was thinking 7.5, but that might have got it up around 8 or over.
Well, I think episode 3 so far, the one where the Mandalorians all like came in, that was the one where I was like, yes. Last weekend's episode was kind of it was a kind of a classic, Western trope, badass goes in, saves village. But they did a good job with it, and it was cool. And Gina Carano
was in there.
Gina Carano used to be in the WWE, right?
Was it WWE?
Well, and then I know she was American Gladiator, but then she also had a pretty good MMA career.
Yeah, she had the first. Did she have a UFC?
I think she was the first. God, I'm talking out of school.
Anyway, she was a pioneer in women's MMA.
Yeah.
And she's very attractive. She's also been in. She was in Deadpool 2.
Oh.
She was in one of the first Deadpool. Anyway, she was in one of the Deadpool movies. She's been in a few movies. Like
she's actually a pretty good actress.
Shit.
I mean, she's not she's not just a badass. I mean, she's actually can act. I mean, a lot of those people can though too. I mean, we talked about The Rock. I mean, he's actually a pretty decent actor.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's just this beautiful woman. And we were talking a little bit beforehand how like she's thick, she's got, she,
bless her heart.
I'm pretty sure that she could like just pick me up and break me in half. She's like she's a meaty, muscular, brute of a woman who actually can very, very much take care of herself. And I find it kind of cool because I have like an issue with this whole like, I'm always fucking navigating the treacherous water, but I really have a problem with this beautiful at any size or this whole like, kind of movement that where it's like, it doesn't matter what you look like on the outside, it only matters what you look like on the inside. Okay. And I agree with that in theory. But I think it's also dangerous because it really does, it might not matter what you look like, but it's very unhealthy to be grossly overweight. It's very unhealthy to be, to not take care of yourself and just be like, it doesn't matter what I look like. I'm beautiful on the inside. But you got to take care of the entire side.
Diabetes is real.
Diabetes is real, like really real. Like type 2 diabetes is just rampant in our country and in our world. So I have an issue with that, but I also love to see somebody who's not like the classic fucking hottie.
And you're seeing it more and more as guys. I remember it wasn't that many years ago that it was like me and almost every brother that I knew liked thicker girls, like especially like a girl with like a big old ass.
Well, like Jennifer Lopez, kind of like. I mean, I remember there was
bigger than her. Everybody appreciates.
There was a time period though when like people were getting butt implants to get like the big bubble J-Lo butt.
Yes, it's called now, because now
people are doing that now.
Yeah, because now it's a big thing. Like now, like I think a lot more people are appreciating a more, just more thickness.
But thickness is not the same thing as unhealthiness.
Exactly.
And that is an important like differentiation. You can, it's okay, or it's okay no matter what. It's okay no matter how you look. It just might not be healthy.
Yeah.
And, but it's one thing to be thick and healthy, and then it is to just be unhealthy.
And then sometimes like, people look pretty, sometimes people look pretty fat and they're a lot, like a lot more fit than one would think,
Oh, well, Jesus Christ. I mean, you got like, when you have a ginormous frame, we talk about Cody all the time.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about it. Cody's fat. I mean, definitely. Or let's just say, if Cody could go a while without eating, and he's not going to starve to death.
Yeah.
That said, he's a ginormous human being with a huge amount of muscle that carries around a lot of fat.
Yeah, because he's very lean at 280.
He would be a fucking amazing gladiator.
Oh my God.
So we were talking, or I've been reading a book lately. I don't know if we were talking about it. No, it was on a podcast I was listening to, but they were talking about there's this new documentary about the vegan lifestyle, and they were talking about how there's some evidence that gladiators ate a mostly vegan vegetarian lifestyle, and there is actually some evidence of that, but they were also very fat. Most of the really top level gladiators, they would do that diet that you kind of were talking about, where you would eat an enormous amount of shit and then lift an enormous amount of weight, because weight's weight, and if you are a huge man who weighs 400 pounds, it's hard as fuck to cut that down, so so there was like some of the really successful gladiators were just these humongous monsters, but they were carrying around an extra 100 pounds of fat. And that's what that vegan diet was good for, because if you put in a shit pile of carbohydrates you can definitely gain some weight.
And I mean, as far as like being in like cardiovascular shape goes, that's probably that's definitely a much better thing than if they were like hugely, if they were really jacked.
Right. But also you got to remember these are gladiatorial fights that did not last very long. They went out there and, 3 to 5 minutes of like butchery and they were done. Now,
the 3 to 5 minutes fighting is fucking forever.
But then you take into consideration the Olympic athletes that were going on around the same time. Those guys were, like doing completely different stuff. But yeah, it was kind of interesting. I wanted to actually bring up one other thing about the diet thing. I was sifting through Facebook the other day, and I came across an article about the Burger King's
ultimate or impossible burger.
Yeah. Did you hear anything about that?
Yeah. I haven't tried it because I'm a double Whopper with cheese guy.
Right.
But I do love me some Burger King.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was really cool that they were doing it, that they were going to put out this vegan burger, because there's not a lot of people do, and it's there's a huge amount of people that are vegetarians and vegans.
There's a little extra stuff in there.
Well, that was kind of what I heard. So originally I was like, this is really cool that they're not only like putting out a vegetarian, like it's not just that they have a vegetarian burger on their menu. They're like promoting this vegetarian burger, this vegan burger, and they're like, really putting it out there. And I thought that's cool, because I agree that like we probably can't sustain the way that we're doing things with factory farming and so on and so forth. So I thought that was pretty cool. But then I was reading this article, and there's some really nasty shit in there. And like, I don't want to talk out of school, but you should look into it before you make a decision to partake. Cause it's from the article I read, which I didn't do any more due diligence. I just read the article and was like, that's pretty scary. I'm not going to be putting it in my body anyway, because I like a Whopper Jr. But but I was like, wow, that fucking sucks,
We'll put it on our list of things to ask Dr. Sam about the next time he's on.
Yeah, for sure. And then also I was on Facebook, I was reading, you posted something about the Utah.
I posted something on Facebook?
Yes, you did, indeed. Weird. About the Utah teacher.
Yeah. I like that a lot. There's a Utah teacher, and the students are telling this teacher, it was a substitute, and the students are telling him what they're thankful for. And the kid had just got adopted.
Right.
And he was thankful for his two dads.
Right.
And the teacher, he took it upon himself to, tell the kid that, like whatever about
homosexuality,
about the
homosexuality and all of this shit.
And is it 3 little girls?
Yeah, that's what I think. It said 3 female students.
And these are like 5th graders, so they were little girls. The 3 5th grade girls, they weren't having it.
Yep, they're like, fuck this.
Yeah. And they made a big deal about it, and
they literally like bolted and went and ran to the principal's office and like said, this crazy bitch is saying some fucking total hateful shit.
And so So that kudos to those girls' parents.
Yeah, for sure. But the part of the article that hit me the hardest, and I was like, fuck, is the little kid felt really bad about not standing up to the teacher, but he was afraid that if he got in trouble, the adoption wouldn't go through. And I was like, fuck that teacher. And fucking A. I was like, man, that hurts your heart to hear that this kid is like so afraid that he fucked up somehow, that he's adoption, he's not going to get adopted.
And these two men that have like made a home for him and stuff and gone through all this stuff to get him, to adopt him,
especially in Utah, which is a very conservative place.
Pretty conservative.
Is that our guest there?
I don't believe it is.
Okay.
But I will double check.
Yeah, I was like, man, that's a rough one. But kudos to those little kids that stood up to the teacher. And another thing in the article I thought was interesting is they were saying that the school hired the substitute through Kelly Temporary Service. And I remember back in the day when I used to work as a telemarketing manager at Meyer Associates, we used to hire people through Kelly Temporary Service all the time. And there is not a lot of fucking standards of quality. I mean, I'm not saying anything terribly bad about Kelly Temporary Service, because they were just, I was like, I need 25 bodies. So if they can read at all, send them my way. So obviously I wasn't getting the highest quality people in the world, but some of them I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe you didn't get, I can't believe you didn't get screened out. So is it Tony?
Yeah. He just had a quick question.
Okay. But he's not here yet?
No.
Okay. So our guest today is,
Downtown Tony Brown.
Downtown Tony Brown. So it'll be interesting to talk to him. He's a super interesting guy.
Yeah. Very fun guy.
Big in the jewelry, arena. So yeah. Cool. Well, what else do you got on your list?
Man, what do I have on my list? So there was something I was supposed to. First, do you remember the movie Sacred Ground from when we were kids? I think it came out when we were 10 years old. Okay, do you remember Windwalker?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Windwalker was fucking dope. That shit was amazing.
Probably one of the best, Native American portrayals ever. Only issue I had with the movie is it was all in subtitles and I didn't read very well. So I missed a lot of the movie, but I've watched it many, many times. And yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
My favorite scene is when the guy goes in to die. The old man goes up to die and he gets up there and this was in the Sioux culture. It's kind of about, I think it's the Sioux and the Crow that were fighting. I think
I think that's right.
But this old man is like, like I've gotten to the point now where I can't handle anymore. I'm going to go die. And he builds his little scaffolding and he goes up there and he's waiting to die.
Well, they thought he was dead, I think, right?
Yeah.
When they put him up there.
Well, he got it. I don't remember. Anyway, he's not dead. And he's like, fuck. And then he gets up and he gets attacked by a bear. And he kills the fucking bear and ends up coming back to the people with the bear cloak on. I was like, fuck yeah, dog. That's the way to do it.
That was a great
movie.
Windwalker
was great. So what's the other one?
So Sacred Ground, it's like based loosely on a true story of a mountain man mountain man and his Indian wife, which is a weird culture. I was thinking about it while I was watching the movie, and like the way that like they would like buy and sell, and were like free to abuse like Native women and stuff. It kind of fucked me up for a minute there, but it's just strange when I think about it. Anyway, so he and his wife, he builds a cabin. He finds a place that he wants to travel. And he builds a cabin without realizing it's on sacred ground. It's like just like down the rise from like a burial ground. And, they don't have headstones and stuff, like it was honest
My
mistake.
bad.
So the local natives, Pawnee, I believe, they show up with a couple of travelers, with some bodies on them and stuff. They're going to bury some dead, and they find him living in a cabin there. She's hugely pregnant. Hugely.
I have seen this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it because it's on Prime. It's on Amazon.
Okay, don't check it out. It's been a long time, but I think I do remember
1983
it.
it came out. But I mean, it's it's. I feel like stuff like that is much less dated because it's supposed to be,
Right.
It's history.
As long as the acting is good and
the acting was good. The guy was an interesting actor. Like his character was kind of quirky. You could see. Like the first appearance, like he'd never seen a Henry repeating rifle before and stuff, and Sacred Ground.
Yes.
I just watched that.
I do remember.
As soon as I saw that was on Amazon, I'm like,
rifle
well, this is getting watched right now.
That Henry repeating rifle has a kind of is a main character in that movie, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Which was a real game changer back then.
And Jack Elam, if you're a fan of old westerns and stuff, he's got kind of like one weird eye, kind of stocky older guy, plays a trapper, probably played 100 trappers in movies over the years.
Yeah, I do remember that one. Do you remember the movie Black? This is same time period. They used to do, it seems like back in the day, they would do a lot more like really good time, period pieces.
Yeah.
But they weren't like these huge budget ones that needed to
Were you going to mention Black Robe?
Black Robe.
Yeah, which I think was about a decade later.
Okay.
But it was pretty damn cool.
Yeah, it's about a Jesuit priest that ends up in Canada, and he gets fucking tortured by the Cree, and it is fucked up, but it's really, really good.
Yeah.
Not exactly an uplifting movie, but really,
it's
really
also
interesting.
It's a nice look, like like the natives that they show in that movie and stuff. They're not noble savages.
Right.
They're just savages, just like we were.
Just savages.
We were clothes wearing, savages that came off boats and stuff.
Yep.
So everybody was a fucking savage. It was a savage world.
Right.
And
I love that. That's a great way to say it. And the Cree were an interesting people, still are an interesting people, even to this day in Canada. If like a hunter just like goes missing, like the Canadians will say, "Oh, fucking Cree." Like that's still a thing. Like they just every once in a while the Cree will take one out. It happens. Not a big deal.
Well,
cost of doing business in Canada.
Fuck around.
Yeah.
And he won't be around.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
There's also, did you see the trailer that I posted on the Spitballing page for Black Widow?
No, I saw that you posted it, but
So the Black Widow movie looks fucking amazing.
I don't know what Black Widow is.
Scarlett Johansson's character from the Avengers?
Okay.
She's
Which
in the
one was
Avengers.
she?
She's the hot redhead.
Oh, the hot redhead. Oh, yeah, sure, I know.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I
But
I kind of skip over all the ones that I didn't really know.
Oh man. Well, she's getting her own movie. Got her own movie. And one of the it's cool. The guy that plays Hopper on Stranger Things.
Oh yeah.
He's in there. He plays a Russian superhero.
Okay.
Like an old Russian superhero. I think it's Red Guardian.
Is this guy? He must have gotten in the gym.
Well, that's part of the thing. He's an old superhero. He's like retired.
Is he still all chubby and everything like he was in?
Not compared to me, but definitely compared to you.
Well, compared to Hopper. I mean, last season of Stranger Things, Hopper was fucking fat. I was like, Jesus Christ, Hop, you got to go on a diet, brah. How you going to get Winona Ryder to fuck you if you look like that?
Well, and now it's not an issue because he's dead. But yeah, he's in there, and the villain is called Taskmaster, who is one of my favorite villains. I'm a big fan of the low-powered supers, and Taskmaster's power, his only power is, he doesn't no superhuman abilities really. He just has photographic reflexes. He can repeat any move from a karate movie or whatever, as long as it's like possible for a real human to do.
Okay.
Like he can just see something once and do it perfectly.
Oh, so he's got the Noah Anderson ability.
Kind of, yeah. And it's so he's cool, you know. And so he's like super, and he's got it. Like he's learned it. That shit's locked away. So he's super well trained in like martial arts and marksmanship and all this stuff. Cool, very cool bad
Interesting.
guy.
All right. Hey, but he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But I watched the trailer and it looks fucking awesome. So I'm excited.
Well, I'm excited that you're excited.
Right on.
Speaking of watching stuff, last night, Meta and I finally finished the last episode of The Newsroom. It was rough,
man. Right?
Yeah. It was a great.
That's some fine television.
I'm sad it's over. I was like, that's really it again. Damn it. And I mean, I've already seen it a couple times.
Yeah, this is like 3 times for me.
I kind of knew what was going to happen, but it was still a pretty tough one.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a great episode, but it was very tough. And then I thought you had said, or somebody had said, that they had talked about making another season, but apparently I watched a little interview with Aaron Sorghum, and he said no, that they're not.
Oh, okay.
There's no plans.
He had flirted with like rebooting it.
There was apparently there was some talk about it, but he said in an interview that at this point he has no like actual plans to reboot it.
Well, he should do something.
That doesn't mean
because
he doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean they're all secret-y and
yeah,
they're all.
Because obviously that guy knows how to fucking, manipulate Kyle and a lot of you and a lot of other fucking people.
I feel like it's like there's no more important time to do another show like that, to like, talk about like honesty in media.
Well,
maybe the only thing is that it's so much more unrealistic today than it would be back then, that there could be a network that could decide to just tell the truth.
It would probably be hard to do without insulting more people than they did the first time around. Just because I feel like the media like now is totally what we deserve. People complain about, fake news. Oh yeah, dipshit. What about that fake shit that you post, like those fucking lies that you post, like circulating shit that to be, like incorrect, at best incorrect, at worst a straight out fucking fabrication.
I actually thought it was interesting when you put that post up on Facebook about the school teacher, the substitute teacher in Utah. Somebody in your comments made some, like jab that everybody in Utah is a Mormon and, they believe in polygamy and blah, blah, blah. And you were like, actually, and you gave them what the actual statistics were.
Yeah.
It's like
1.4% of the people in fucking Utah are polygamists.
Yeah. This is not,
or at least that's the way, that's old data. But right. I mentioned that. And I said, even if it was double that, which that's not the fucking case, even if you double that, you're still talking about fucking less than 3% of the population, which is not most, which is what she had said.
Right.
But
yeah. So, and I mean, maybe she was being facetious, but it's that kind of stuff that's like, No,
because she continued to argue,
it's pretty easy.
Like,
it's pretty easy to like Google that before you open your
mouth. Except, unfortunately for the smart people out there, and that person, Amy, she's actually pretty fucking cool. She's legit. I think that she was just, I would be willing to bet that she just wanted to argue a little bit, like I do that. I mean, a lot of people, it's Facebook, everybody does that. And because I know she, that doesn't feel strongly about the issue or anything. So I think she just wanted to argue a little bit, which I can dig that. That's fine. But I feel like, you've got all those people that are fake news. I'm like, man, not all news is fake news. And, you have to like, yeah, some news is fake news, but, just calling everything that you don't agree with fake news is fucking stupid. Besides, like the whole fake news thing that originated on one side, kind of.
Right. Yeah.
Because that was Karl Rove's specialty. He pioneered that shit. Even when he was an academic in Texas, he ruined a guy's fucking career, mostly ruined his life, by circulating a report. It was a guy, he was a mayor. if I'm getting this story right, I might be fucking this up. It's called
Fake
fake
news.
news. Yeah. And I think he was a mayor. And the guy was really a strong advocate for children. A lot of kids causes and stuff. Now, as part of an experiment in a was it a poli-sci class that he was teaching? Anyway, part of an experiment for a class, they circulated a rumor that the guy was a pedophile. Yeah. No, the guy was not a pedophile. And like later on, they're like, hey, whatever. Like he's not really a pedophile. But the damage was done because people don't give a fuck when the truth comes out. And like that whole Karl Rove thing, it doesn't have to be true. All I have to do is say it enough.
Well, right. That's been attributed to Hitler, though I don't think he ever said it. But, like the whole idea is that, no matter how big the lie, say it often enough and they'll believe it.
Yeah.
But who's the one that they did this? The poli-sci.
Karl Rove used to be a teacher. He was in Texas.
So he was like, we're going to do this experiment.
Yeah. And they fucking ruined this guy. I'll find I'll find the story and throw it up on the page. But
okay, this is, and I know you haven't listened to this, but there's a podcast called In the Dark, which is a great podcast. I really, really suggest it, especially if you're have never went down the road of a really in-depth, well-produced podcast. If this is your only podcast experience, you should really go check out some of these other ones. Serial and In the Dark. But In the Dark was about the Jacob Wetterling case. The first season was. And when I didn't want to listen to it because I was like, fuck, I don't care about Jacob Wetterling. I mean, I've lived that shit. But then since then I listened to this thing and I was like, oh my God, there's so much in it. No, but there's this guy named Dan. It's not Rasher. It's Rasser. And he got kind of pointed to as a person of interest in the case. And it fucked his life up.
That shit can ruin your fucking life.
Completely innocent. Had nothing to do with it. But he was guilty of living with his mother. And he was in his 40s. Now, she was sick and he was taking care of her, but fucking, that's just weird. He was living with his mother and he liked to collect records. So
fucking creep.
He really hadn't, there was no evidence that he had any connection to the case at all. The Stearns County Sheriff's Department, well, I know exactly who said it was the fucking Stearns County Sheriff's Department, went after this fucking guy, and publicly pointed to him as a person of interest in the case. And there's now a lawsuit, multi-million-dollar lawsuit.
That seems irresponsible.
Do you think? And I really, really suggest checking this podcast out, because even if you think you know everything about the Jacob Wetterling case, you don't. And B, the Stearns County Sheriff's Department at this point in time was seriously one of the most incompetent organizations I've ever seen in my life. It's ridiculous. And people got hurt. Other people got hurt because of their inaction. So really check it out.
That reminds me, have you heard anything about, no, it looks, there's a big push to criminalize false reporting of rapes and stuff.
Yeah. I feel like it's such a tiny little percentage of and I get it. I get the gut feeling God, I would how, okay, let me just say this. In my line of work, I oftentimes come into contact with young women who have been victims of trauma. And there is a point where it's scary to do my job without and not feel vulnerable to the accusation of attack or of assault or whatever. And we at my work take huge precautions to make sure that doesn't happen. We double up, whatever. That said, it's actually a legitimate fear that you could have somebody accuse you of something, and then wow, because these people are really fucked up. Some of them have been through some really bad shit, and they just, stuff can happen. So it's a scary thing, and I get my gut reaction is like, oh, that would be terrible to be accused of something you didn't do, and then have that be a thing. But my feeling is that any kind of law like that protects the people that perpetuate the crime.
It's true. That's one of the things that makes me, there's a couple of things that make me feel like, that make me uncomfortable with a law like that. I mean, because it sounds good.
Right.
I mean, I know, as far as just, not like, not legally, but just throwing that word around and stuff, just about every guy I know at some point has been accused. Well, not necessarily accused. Well, yeah, has been accused by, by a former lover or, whatever, of rape. I had, one of my roommates in college, like had an ongoing thing, like this. There was a girl that played volleyball. Would sneak over to the football house. It was like was it like every Wednesday night, or was it every Sunday night? Anyway, it was like a weekly thing, and she'd like sneak over there, and wouldn't tell anybody. Like her roommates knew, but like whatever. And finally, like it came out. She got like exposed, and then she accused him of some shit. Now later on, like she said, "Hey, that's not what happened. I'm sorry," like to him, and to a couple of other people. But that was years later. That was a couple of years later.
Already, yeah.
But that never, it never got to the legal point. But like just.
But that's
like
why I videotape
carelessly.
all my sexual interactions, so that the consent is right there. I mean, I secretly do it. But, no, but it's like,
is that what that blinking light was about?
Well, I only actually do it in the podcast.
Yeah,
but yeah, like that's like a super scary thing to have somebody come forward to. But I don't think a law like that is going to protect. I think it's going to definitely hurt victims, not protect. I don't know what to say. It's gonna it's gonna hurt victims.
It's a tough one. It's one that like it's a touchy subject, but I wouldn't mind discussing that. Like maybe.
But already it's so difficult for women to, or no, I shouldn't just say women. Why not?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
That's a fucking thing that like, especially in my line of work, that everybody's so like, wants to like say like, well, men are also the victim of rape and sexual assault. And yeah, absolutely. Of course. But they're not the primary victim of rape and sexual assault. And typically men aren't afraid to change or to put gas in their car at night.
It's a lot easier to be a man in that regard. I mean, I know when you're children and stuff. I mean, like
children's
so
a different
maybe just
subject.
say victim or whatever. I mean, if we're gonna make it like kind of all encompassing. But I mean, like I stumbled over that too. I was gonna say like accusations by women, but then I'm like, well, no, I should be general neutral. We don't have to be general neutral about it.
But because the fact of the matter is, the vast majority of people who are victims of sexual assault, not toward children, because that actually equals out pretty greatly when you start talking about children, which just makes you want to kill people. So let's not talk about that. But the vast majority of people that are victims of sexual assault are women, and
an alarming percentage of women.
Ridiculous.
I mean, granted, if the percentage was 1%, it would be alarming. The percentage that it is fucking. I mean, anyway, we're getting too far down that fucking, but
the percentage is like 25%.
Or
it's
more.
like 1 in 4 women are victims of sexual assault, and that's only the reported numbers, because we know that a lot of that goes unreported. So it's pretty crazy. I actually have written a self-defense curriculum that really focuses on women's self-defense. I talked a little bit with Danny about it, but the problem with it is that it takes like a fairly serious time commitment to like actually like effectively go through this course, and still probably doesn't like solve the problem, though it certainly doesn't hurt the problem. Adding skill and confidence to your ability to protect yourself is not going to make it less likely that you'll be able to defend yourself. So, but it also doesn't make it nothing's bulletproof. So,
except for wealthy rapists.
Right. They are bulletproof.
They are bulletproof. Actually, wouldn't mind putting that to the test. I was just thinking about that fucking, like, the kid that fucking, like, molested the girl behind the fucking trash can or whatever. He was, but he was like, he was a swimmer. He was a rich kid. His dad was like well connected and stuff. Do you remember that guy?
No, but I like really do close my eyes to a lot of it. Like if I see news that's gonna make me upset, I try not to like look at it.
It was a fucking infuriating case, but I mean, it's, you know, just like anything, you know, there's the justice that poor people get, and there's the justice that rich people get.
Oh, I saw a fucking funny like thing about this is switching subjects, but I just thought it was funny. It was a Black Friday thing, and it was posted by like Gracie Baja or something like that. But there's some footage of these two guys going at it over a TV, and they did the jiu-jitsu breakdown for it. It was pretty awesome because the one guy triangles the other guy, and then like, they just went through it point by point, and then it was just great. And they're like, but really, dude, why fighting over a TV? Just come on into the gym. And like, you get 25% off these. It was like they made it into like a commercial for their gym, and I thought it was pretty fucking clever. But yeah, I don't know, funny. Did you do any of that Black Friday stuff?
I stay away from that shit. I will hire out, you know, like I put that thing on Facebook, me and the boys, you know, you can hire us to
come with you.
Yep.
The Goon Squad.
Yeah. We'll stand in line with you. We'll stand in line for you while you run to the bathroom, or get a coffee or whatever.
We'll carry all 27 of your TVs. Carry
your shit. We'll fight soccer moms over that last Blu-ray player, stuff like that. But I myself do not, you know, like I will go if I'm, you know, I'll go if I'm getting paid, combat pay. But I, for the most part, don't like to see people like that. It grosses me out.
Yeah.
It disgusts me, and it makes me want to fucking like lash out at people. So
yeah. The only thing I do on Black Friday, is I have to stop into Home Depot, but I do it later in the day because it's not like whatever. But it's just because they have these my batteries. They go on Uber sale, and like so I had to go buy 2 batteries.
I didn't even know you were battery operated. I should have known.
Yep, Ryobi. No, I have a extensive tool collection of Ryobi tools, and I'm not. They don't pay us any money, unfortunately.
Not yet, then.
But it's one of those things when like people who see my tool collection are like, holy shit, you really like Ryobi. And I'm like, I got Ryobi. Like I started with a Ryobi like drill, and the next thing you know, like you just keep having to buy the same brand and with the same batteries, or else you have 15 different batteries. But now I literally have almost every tool they make, and like, you know, gobs and gobs of batteries. But these batteries are, you know, they're $140 a battery, and they're on sale for $70. So I had to go get a couple of them. $70 is still a lot of money for a battery, but it's better than 140.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even half.
It's half ish.
All right.
Cool. All right. Anything else you want to talk about before Tony gets in?
Do I? Let's see. You know, we've got, okay. We'll probably have to make this a short one because I think he'll be here soon. So I was looking at doing some, did I talk to you about this? I was looking at doing some census work.
You did mention that. Yep.
Now I was told by my source that I was supposed to ask you about a story about the census lady.
Interesting.
Damn it.
I wonder what the fuck they're talking about.
Well, I think it was your sister that told me to ask you about the story.
God damn it. I don't know.
Okay. Well, we can
we're
put
going to have to
that.
revisit that. That doesn't mean that there's not a story about the census lady.
Memories are flawed. We're flawed men with flawed memories.
The problem is that I have so many stories, and like if something happened, I may have been animated about it at the time and told this story, and people will remember that story, but I don't fucking remember that. I mean, it didn't turn into a story. It just was the one time I said it. So like if you ask me a story about like, you know, the time I jumped through the window because I thought I was being attacked by the forces of darkness. I can tell you the fucking story because it's because I've told it like 100,000 times, but I don't remember this census person. But maybe if I can get my memory checked, I know you had mentioned that you last week tonight by John Oliver that you don't watch it very often.
Yeah.
But they do have one about the census,
which is a fucking amazing one.
Okay. I didn't watch it yet, but I saw it on there and I was like, oh, I'm going to have to check this out so Kyle and I can talk about it before he does the census.
I love that one. So yeah, watch it.
Let's put a pin in that and I'll watch that. And then we'll come back and talk about it.
on the spitballing page. But my phone just dinged, and I'm guessing that is Tony.
All right, sounds good. So we'll be back in just a minute with Downtown Tony Brown. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Spitballing. I'm Matt Taylor here with my good buddy
Kyle Amundsen.
And today we have Downtown Tony Brown in the house. How you doing, Tony?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, well, you were on our original wish list when we the first day.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a long time, but you're a busy man.
You know, it's been busier now that I am what I like to call semi-retired than it was when I was working full time. It's crazy, all the stuff like. Once I got back, when I parted Riddles, I did what everybody did. I bought a new car and then I went on vacation for a week.
Because that's what you do when you lose your job.
Yeah,
or, when you leave a job or whatever. So, I know you left, but I lost.
So then it was.
I did the same thing.
Right, so I drove down to Florida, and then shortly thereafter you were in Florida, and it seemed like everybody I know went to Florida right after. But on the way home, I'm thinking to myself, now I got time to chill. School's in session. Dom, my oldest, is a second grader. The little guy goes to daycare. I'm going to spend the next week just drinking NyQuil and sleeping during the day.
Nice.
Wow.
And
doing a little NyQuil tripping.
Yeah, and that just never happened. I'm still waiting for that day to come. It's just been, it's like, okay, before I can do that, I got to do this and I got to do this. And then I start seeing all the half-finished projects I got around my house that, I used to just attack from like, June to September before I got busy at the store. And it's like, man, I got too much crap to do. There's shit everywhere.
So semi-retirement's busier than shit.
It is.
Well,
it is.
I too am semi-retired.
Right.
And I feel you. I think it's mostly because you get out of your routine. And then, and I'm not the greatest time manager ever. Yeah. So, I understand that completely. But I think the routine is the biggest thing. Just not being in a routine anymore, it fucks you all up. Because, I also feel like I am... between the grandbaby and still trying to get into the gym and the furniture.
Every time you turn around, there's another dresser you got to pick up.
Good Lord, the fucking furniture.
I was on Saturday. I was working at Ninth Street, and Aaron and I were just bullshitting, and she was. Christine came up about the furniture, and she's like, "That bitch makes me so mad." And I was like, why? She goes, because she's like doing all of these projects that like I want to do, and I have I have a fucking storeroom full of shit that I should be redoing, and she doesn't even have it. She's doing it in her fucking living room. She was like literally like livid about it, and I was like, so what you're saying is she's an inspiration? And she's like, yeah, I guess that's what I was saying. She was like all like salty about it.
She is Pinterest. Everybody wants to do what she's doing, but nobody can quite put the nail in it.
Yeah, it's.
I was mentioning. I mentioned to Aaron, but when Christine and Meta came on the show, Meta got to come and take a look at my wood shop, or not Meta. I'm sorry, Christine got to come take a look at my wood shop, and she was like petting my table saw, like. This is a real saw,
right?
So you could like cut stuff, and it was like, I was like,
I wouldn't have to have Kyle make saw noises when I'm using something.
Exactly. So, Tony, known you for quite some time.
Yeah.
You've always been like a big supporter of the guys at the gym in their fight careers and stuff like that. But forever and ever, I've just known you as the jewelry guy.
Yeah, so that's pretty much how I got known. With Riddles, my job was to start the stores in Minnesota and expand them, and that put me here. And I think we opened Bemidji in 2004. I think I officially moved to the Brainerd area in 2005, and I was here through 2009, and then they shipped me out to Montana and Wyoming for a while.
Oh, you've been all over the place.
Yeah, So I've officially added up to one day. I think I officially have run or had affiliation with running 7 stores on my own. But I've lived like gypsy and moved probably about a total of 12 times.
Oh, jeez.
And worked in probably 15 to 20 stores total.
Really?
You know, for a while I was just out at the office and they're like, hey, we need you to go here and do an inventory, or we need you to go there and, work for 3 weeks because the manager's out, whatever the case is. So I was kind of that guy for the biggest time.
Which is all fun and games while you're a young man and still like, you know, before you put down roots and stuff.
You bet. When I had the Dodge Stratus and put 200,000 miles on it, you don't even have to put oil on that thing. You just change the tires once in a while, and it was great.
Right.
But so that's what landed me here in Brainerd, and Brainerd really was the first town where I really, because when I was in Bemidji, it was nice, and nothing wrong with Bemidji, but I was like, yeah, I'm not feeling this. But then I got to Brainerd, and I was just like, I got to know more people and everything, and it just kind of felt more home. You know? I've always kept my connection. Kept my connections up here with people, and it's funny because even though there was a Riddles here, people drive down to see me or come down to see me down there.
I'm one of those people.
Yeah, and so it's I've always kind of had that tie in there and never really lost it. And I was here for a good time, so I just kind of branched out, got networked into all kinds of random stuff. And, Brainerd's just a big circle of friends. You see one person's like, oh, yeah, I didn't know you knew them. And, the next thing and the next thing. I mean, it was a fun time. We kind of had my buddy Sean Bryson. I don't know if you might know Sean.
Yeah.
I met him first in Bemidji. And it was funny because when we were in Bemidji, I was really chubby and he was really skinny, if you could picture that. And then when we got down here, it was just the opposite because I had been working out all the time and everything. So he's like, no way, you're that same dude, And we came up with this little MO because he was running around opening up gyms and stuff. And we met at Applebee's up there. And we'd always be there at the same time drinking margaritas till damn near closing time because there's nothing else to do in Bemidji, Minnesota. And we come up with the system. It's like, for traveling people, the first thing you got to do is you got to find a gym and you got to find a bar/restaurant to call home.
Right.
And that's what I did. And that's literally how I got to know everybody in Bemidji, or in Bemidji and Brainerd for that matter. It was either through connections that I met while I was hitting up at Applebee's, people I was selling jewelry to, different chamber events or whatever the case was, or the other great handful of people was from the gym, from Anytime Fitness, because he was there. So then I just started going there, and then everybody gets to know everybody. And
okay, so you would work out at Anytime. So that's how you and Kyle met.
Yep.
Was through Anytime.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, Big Jeezy Gabe.
Yeah, yep. Absolutely.
Is how we kind of come about.
And then is that how you ended up getting connected to like Brock and the MMA thing?
No, Brock was a whole weird different deal.
Brock's always a whole weird different
I'm sitting in my store, minding my own business, and all of a sudden this dude comes walking up wearing all this tap out shit. He's like, hey, you should set up a table at my fight. And I was what? He's like, Maureen sent me down here from GNC. She said you should set up a table at my fight. I was like, oh, where are you fighting? Like, what are you talking about? I had no idea.
Right.
Because this was probably within my first 6 months here. So he left, and, of course, at that point, it was the old flip phone texting. So I was like, I just rolled down GNC. I was like, did you send this guy down here as a joke? Who is this guy? And she's like, no, it's legit. We sponsor him, and, they do put on fights over here. And so I was like, all right. So we went and did the first fight, and it was crazy.
Was that the Civic Center?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So, it was probably 2,000-3,000 people there.
Yeah. They got the back garage door open with the cattle fences up so people could smoke.
Yeah.
And his brother was serving food there and everything else. And then here we were with a big ass jewelry display next to the food and beer.
Right. Perfect.
And I wasn't quite sure how it was going to go. And, so I was like, yeah, let's do it. Because that was my attitude with everything. Let's try it.
Right.
What's it going to cost us? So we gave away a couple of fighter prizes. We gave away some door prizes and kind of went from there. And a lot of people stopped by the booth and, it's, oh, yeah, we'll come see you. And it's like, yeah, you get that everywhere.
Right.
Like you're at the Crow Wing County Fairgrounds, and once all your pins are gone, nobody's stopping by anymore.
Right.
But, literally the next day, someone comes in and is like, "Hey, I need to buy a diamond necklace, for my girlfriend. I've been looking, but since you helped out Brock, I want to help out you."
And that, so
I was like, "This guy's golden."
Well, Brock is golden.
Yeah.
And that has always been kind of like the thing with him. I mean, especially in the hometown of Brainerd, that like people like see if somebody's loyal to Brock, then they'll definitely reciprocate that for sure.
Yeah. And the other side of it is he has no idea how big of a person he is.
No.
Outside, he just
Thank
thinks he's
God,
Brock
or
from
never,
Oh,
or he would be able to fit through a door. But
Right.
I don't know if you saw. I don't know if you watched the show, but we talked about that when we were down at Bridjitsu. He had a couple of guys. He had a couple of fighters there, and they didn't have a list with his name on it or anything when he first tried to get in. And he was like, "I'll just wait." So he went and stood in line with us.
Out in cold. It was really cold, and
It
we're
was
all
fucking-
shivering.
No kidding.
Yeah,
It's
Brock's just
cold.
like, "Ooh,
The
whatever."
seminar went long, so there's a big old line. Everybody's standing outside with their thumbs up their asses. He could have gotten in. If
Right.
he would have said "Hey, can you go get the main guy? Fucking, I'm supposed to be here." Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I'm Brock Larson.
Take a
And-
picture of me and send it to him.
Right. But because if you're in the know, if you're if you know anything about MMA or grappling in Minnesota, well, you fucking know who Brock Larson is.
Right. Yeah.
And but maybe more than Minnesota. I mean, he's kind of a big deal. But he's not a big deal to him, so
Right.
because he's he just goes and hangs out and fucking stands in line with us and jokes around and plays.
Did I ever tell the story? I may have already, but it's pretty funny. But one time Brock, and I think the deal was he lost his wallet. He left his wallet at the gas station or something like that in Brainerd.
Makes sense.
No, that's
At
the move of a
Market Square.
disorganized person.
Yeah, right.
Right.
One day we were leaving the gym, and I literally, he said, "Wallet, watch, or wallet, keys, whatever," and I was like, "Oh, Brock." After all of these years,
Right.
You finally learned. But he had left his wallet at the gas station, and he goes in to get his wallet, and the guy behind the counter didn't believe it was. He's like, "What's your name?" He's like, "Brock Larson." He's like, "Oh," and he, whatever. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me because he just look at the fucking ID or whatever.
Right.
But anyway, Brock got a little pissy with him, the guy didn't know who he was, and Brock's like, "Google me," and he Googles Brock Larson. He's like, "Oh shit," because the first fucking picture
Right.
is
He's got the one FC thing hanging.
right, fucking veins hanging out everywhere. Kid just gave him his fucking wallet. What's done with it?
Yeah.
So
and it's just like anywhere you go with them. It's when they first moved, not from where he was with Lane down there, but when they moved out to the industrial park and weight park.
Yeah.
And I went out there.
Compound. Or
Yeah.
That was
Yep.
Nope. Get some.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was like, he's like, "Yeah, we got a pretty good group of guys," and that's when Tony Martin was out there, and Adam McDonough, and Devian was out there, and there's quite a few guys out there. And I was like, okay, but how did these guys find you? And I was like, well, I picked him up on my way here, and and this kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I was like, we need to take you. I said, so let's get you. At the time, I knew the guy. It was Gold's Gym at the time. They've changed names like 19 times. So I said, there's a new manager there. I don't know him, but I know the people who run the place. So let's go over there and I'll introduce you. I said, but I only have an hour. I got to be back to work, back at the store. And he's like, all right, sounds good. So we went and picked him up and we went there and we didn't even get in the damn building within an hour.
Right.
It was like, oh my God, Brock, what are you doing here? It's like, all I wanted to do is for you to meet him so then we can say your people can get a discount here and your people get a discount there, a little cross promoting and
Didn't realize it was going to be an all afternoon fucking thing.
Yeah, it's like, I'll come pick you back up at 5 when I'm done with work. Maybe by then you'll be done talking to people.
Right. And he's not great at shutting up too. He'll just
No.
talk forever.
Well, he's not going to shut anybody down. He's not going to snub anybody.
No.
Right.
Fuck.
So you worked at Riddle's Jewelry forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
And now recently you decided you were.
Yeah, it was kind of we've been going back and forth a little bit because they're unsure of what's going to happen with the store in St. Cloud because the mall, their lease is up in another year, and the mall's kind of a pain in the ass because they want to charge everybody more money for it, and it's not that high a traffic mall, so you're kind of a destination spot. You kind of
Right.
like this mall up here anymore is like everybody who's there is a destination. You're going there for that store. There's nothing else
and
left.
dude, I can't even remember the last time I went to the mall. I
Yeah.
mean, Like, you know, I mean,
Right.
it's just not something you do anymore. Used to.
Right.
There's
when I
no
was a
Dairy Queen
kid-
anymore, so
No, that's exactly
They'll
I mean, when
probably
I was a
never see me.
kid, that was just what you did, is you went to the mall
Yeah.
and hung out. But I mean, that's just not a thing anymore.
It isn't. It really isn't. So, you know, and it was kind of going back and forth, and so you don't really know, if you don't know where the lease is at, you don't know where your pay is going to be at, you don't really know where anything is. So everything's kind of up in the air. And in the end, they were like, well, why don't you move back out to Rapid? You know, or maybe Sioux Falls or something. And so we talked it over, and it just wasn't the right time to move. It wasn't. They were wanting me to kind of start. If I was going to do it, I'd have to start doing it right away. So I'd be working like 4 days and then 3 days off type thing, back and forth, and you know, basically leave Alicia as a single mom to take care of the boys and stuff. And it's just like, you know. So then we just decided to go with the third option. I took a severance package and kind of went from there. And the first day I went home, and it was funny because literally I got the call from Bobby over at Subaru. He was like, dude, your car's in, you know, and my dad happened to be up there because he got a brand new car. We ordered him a brand new one too. And so I went home. I was like, oh, come on, Pops, let's go get our cars, you know. And so the whole time I was sitting there thinking, I was like, yep, you know, getting a brand new car and just quit my job.
Subaru. Did you like order the new Subaru Forester? I didn't realize that you'd become a lesbian.
Oh, nice. No, I'm just hippie-ish, you know.
And
Everything Minnesota's getting a little bit more democratic, so I wanted to fit in a little bit better. So, and I go to Duluth a lot, so
you know.
I had an Outback, and then in the beginning of September I got rear-ended, and so I called Bobby in it because it was on a lease. And I was like, hey, what do I do to take this thing to get fixed? You know, do I got to go to a Subaru dealership somewhere? And he's like, dude, let's just get rid of it. All right, so we'll do that. And so that's kind of how that came about. But
I actually love Subarus, and I drive a Honda Pilot, so
you know, right?
I drive a pile of shit, so it's like the same thing.
Yeah. It's you know, and I will say that you know, when I first started coming to Bobby, he got me my first Navigator and my second one and my Lincoln, and he's all the time he's like, dude, you just got to drive a Subaru. And at that time, they were really boxy. I mean, they tried to make them look sporty with the scoop on the hood that did nothing for it, but it's still forest green color.
the scoop
you know?
to nowhere.
Yeah, you know, and I was just like, nah, I am not doing that. You know, I just can't do that. And then, so from there, I just, you know, they evolved their cars a little bit. So finally, he's just like, when I got my 2016 from him, he's like, just take it for the weekend. Take the wife, kids, go to Duluth, go somewhere. I don't care where. So we put like 700 miles on this thing. And I drove back. I only had to fill up the gas tank when we got back. You know, we all the way up to the North Shore and back.
Right? Yeah, they do get good gas
And
mileage.
I was like,
Hard
all right,
to kill too.
yeah. And I'm like, I'm sold. And he's like, all right. So it went. And he's like, we'll sign all the paperwork. So I went back to pick it up, and they had a brand new one for me. He's like, I can't give you that one. It's got miles on it. You know, I'm like, all right. So, and then when that one shit out, I got this one, and this one is even better. It sits up a little bit higher, not quite like Jeep height, you know, but you feel a little bit more manly, and it's a step away from the Griswold wagon look. But
well, for me, I need you know, like I find that like my Pilot is just the right height so that I don't either break into a sweat getting into it, or I don't hit my head because like the lumbering fat ass climbing into a short car is, you know,
right.
Like,
I would like to see you try to crawl in my Nissan Versa, especially with how short my legs are, because I have the seat like pushed up all the way.
That's the worst.
Yeah,
You almost
You'd be
you'd
like,
probably
no
have to
chance.
have Lamborghini doors on it or something, you know, the wing up type thing.
Well, I can crawl in anything. I'm a tiny little guy. I mean, I'll slide right in there. But yeah, Kyle would never get in that thing. Plus, it
Man.
would drive down the road like this.
right,
you know.
right. There is that. There is definitely
well,
that.
Pontiac, I don't know how many times I hit my fucking head just jumping into that thing, like whack, you know,
Yeah.
half unconscious.
You
I
forget
need to
about
go
it after a
someplace.
while, like it's
Might
not
be
going to happen
bleeding.
again.
Right.
You know.
So you quit your job and then you buy a brand new car.
Yeah, and you know, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew one thing was for certain. I wanted to stay in jewelry. You know, I don't know if it's going to be my full-time gig or what, but I've been doing it for so long. I'm just like, I got to stay in it.
And you get to be a part of some pretty cool shit. You know,
Yeah.
like
There's everything. I mean, it's
you set. So Tony set me up. Got a great deal on a beautiful ring that Christine loves loves to this day. Well, yeah. So yeah, you got me the ring, and Matt officiated the wedding.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, we're all involved.
but,
it And there's quite a few guys that from the gym and everywhere else that, like we were talking, they just come to me, and, I have, a matter of fact, I sold a necklace to a guy the other day that I first sold a piece of jewelry to when I lived in Rapid City, South Dakota.
Oh, wow.
And because I've kept the same phone number for.
So it's just like, it's like anything, like once you like know an industry inside and out, it's like,
it is
hard to make a change. I mean, and you don't hate that industry.
No, and it's I love the industry, and nothing against Riddles either. I hope they succeed in St. Cloud and everywhere else for that matter. They just what happened is in the end, it used to have more of a family philosophy. So like the manager had more say in the advertising and the day-to-day operation, stuff like that, and it's starting to get more and more corporatized all the time.
Yeah, which seems to be the case with everything.
Yeah,
it's just the way it is.
Ruin any
and
job.
It's not to their fault. That's just the way the world's going, because so many people do such dumb shit.
Right.
You have to control everything, and so it is what it is. But I was just like, and it's funny because one of the first people who called me was Tony Martin. And he's like, I just told you, he has 3 months earlier, he was in the store, maybe 2 months. And he's like, why don't you quit here and just open your own place? I'm like, dude, I do not want to do that.
That's because like, I think a lot of people feel the same way. I know a lot of people feel the same way I do. Like, I didn't drive down to St. Cloud to go to Riddles. Like I drove down to St. Cloud to go to you, like that's what,
that kind of was the common denominator. So as I was driving, we woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning on like October 4th or whatever, it was a Friday. And it's like, let's go to Florida. I was like, all right. So we shut the kids in the car and everybody slept. And so I had a lot of time behind the wheel to think to myself. And I'm like, okay, well, how are we going to do this? And it's like, I have client relationships because I take great care of my customers. I'm proud enough to say that. And over the years, I've got vendor relationships from being involved in a lot of different things. I know how to do marketing. I know how to do advertising. I know how to network. I know all the stuff I need to do. But, to do a jewelry store, the biggest thing is you got to have the cash flow. I'm like, how am I going to overcome that? And then I just started thinking, it's like, what, fuck it. I'm just going to do it out of my house.
Right.
Nobody, and just what you said is people weren't going to that store in the mall. They were coming, the people who were coming to see me were coming to see me. Now, and there's some people who are going to Riddles because Riddles is based on such a great thing. They got a great story. They take care of their customers and stuff too. But they really taught me and molded me to do that same thing that they used to do really well. And because of that, I am successful with it.
So now you're going to be like that creepy guy with a trench coat that like walks up to people and like, opens it up with a bunch of watches and jewelry and
Except
shit?
for you tell me ahead of time which watches I should put into the trench coat.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So it's the easiest way, and it's a whole different business model.
He's already has experience being the creepy guy in the trench coat. It's just now he's going to have jewelry in there when he opens it up.
Right.
And hopefully I can get back into some public places again.
Right. That'd be nice. This little black raincoat.
Right.
So you're just launching a like a virtual store, but not even like an online store, but just like a
a little bit of both. So basically, it's a whole new. I can't say it's new because it's an old way of doing business, but I'm a concierge jeweler. So I meet my clients when's convenient for them and where's convenient for them.
Fucking love the word concierge.
Yeah, doesn't it even sound good?
So good.
It sounds a lot better than I'm the guy you could call whenever you need.
Right.
It's just
concierge is a great word.
Yeah, you automatically when you hear that you think luxury. Anyway.
Somebody who's going to take care of you.
Yeah. So it and basically that's kind of what I'm doing. I have a website up. You can go there. You could browse. My retail prices are on the website, but basically, because everything fluctuates, diamonds change daily, what's available and stuff. So basically, you hit me up and say, okay, I seen this at K's or Riddles or online or my girl's Pinterest or whatever, and this is what I want, and here's my budget. And then I go to work and I find it. I do all the legwork on the backside.
So you're not, and you probably will have some inventory, but you're not like hoarding. You're not hoarding a bunch of gold.
No, not at all. Don't come to my house.
Like a dragon.
There's no gold and diamonds at my house currently. Stay away from the kids. But no. So I partnered. My main partner is this factory down in Louisiana, and they're a family-owned factory. They've been in business since the 70s, and the guy literally started his company out of the trunk of his car, selling findings and stuff to jewelers. And they are my factory. They do all my casting. I can do everything from basically taken a piece. You can give me a picture of something, or and I'll build it. I'll get the images from it, and they'll cast it. I'll set the stones myself at my house, or they'll set them for me and finish it up in a finished piece.
Okay, so that's part of it too. So you like actually, like, you're not just a jewelry salesperson. You're a jeweler.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you-
That's one of the things. One of the first things when I started with Riddles is, Scott Riddles like, well, you obviously already know how to sell, so we're not going to start there. So we're going to teach you how to do the goldsmithing stuff. So I went in the back in his shop and melted a bunch of shit. It was great,
Cool.
and it's like, and it was weird because I used to be able to fix chains and you couldn't even tell they were broke. Like within 0.5 millimeter, I could solder a chain together and you couldn't see nothing. But once I started working on rings and more complex stuff, I can't do chains worth of shit. Somebody comes and says, I broke my chain. I said, great, let's get you a new one. Because it ain't going to look the same again. But it's I kind of evolved that. And one of the cool things is with all my traveling, I got to meet tons of different goldsmiths. And goldsmiths are like artists. They each have a different way
Right.
they get something done, but you can still have the same picture at the end.
So do you have like a home workshop?
Yeah. Yep. So I slowly, because at first I was like, my idea at first is I'm going to set this up just so I can still hook up my family and friends. And if somebody refers me, hey, just call my buddy Tony. He can get something for you. Because in the back of my mind, and still, it's eventually I'm probably going to find something full time maybe, but I'll still keep doing jewelry and keep growing my own little company. But right now, if things keep going the way it is, I probably won't find something full time. I'm probably just going to keep doing this because it's been just
Fuck yeah, good for you, man.
sporadically isolated, busy as hell with it.
Yeah. Well, it's great.
And it's
Awesome.
And the crazy thing is like, so I sold my first piece. I'm like, damn, this is cool. I sold it. I know everything I got into it. I cut the guy a hell of a deal. He literally told me I saved him $5,000. He's like, nobody could come within $5,000 of you. He asked me if it was real stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's GI certified.
But that's the other thing is like now you get to fence that stolen shit too, which
That's
is
right.
a whole nother side business that you can.
Yeah, I was thinking to open up a couple of pawn shops.
Why not?
I don't know, but so it's like it's all certified goods. It's a lot of the stuff. It's coming from the same supplier.
So the
that I used to get
difference
from
is,
Riddles.
and I'm just assuming here, but
Yeah.
like the difference is that you can go through a supplier and then you can give the person a hell of a deal because you don't have all that overhead. You're not paying for a store. You're not paying
100%.
employees. You're not paying for a lease. You don't have all that shit.
Yeah,
going on.
and you don't. You had your store you had to pay for. You had your lease, your employee expense. You also had a percentage of costs that you got to help support the office and everybody that supports the store. So I don't have that.
And that's kind of a model for a lot of online stores. But the problem with buying anything online is you don't have that dude you trust to say, okay, I get it. But this
Exactly.
is what you want. This is actually the quality you're looking for.
Yeah.
This is inside your budget, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Where you can, you might be able to go on and find a hell of a deal, but you don't really know what you're getting.
Exactly, and it's and who doesn't want to say go see my jeweler? You
Right.
know? It's
I'll
like
hook you up with my
if you're-
guy.
Well, and you're
You're-
just dealing with this family business out
Yeah.
of Louisiana, which, it's easy to maintain a family business in Louisiana because you never have to deal with anyone else.
Right.
There's never any new people
right.
You're
at
making,
all in that
Just
family.
the same 1,200.
At all.
You're
you know.
making another cousin fucker joke.
Hey,
You and
there's-
your
I love my
goddamn cousin
cousin
fucker
fucker
jokes.
There's something to that in Tennessee though, because when back in March we were in Tennessee and I wanted to tour the Jack Daniels plant, so we went there and the guy, he was phenomenal, our tour guide, big dude, and the first thing you notice about him is he's got walleye vision. They're going both ways, and you get through the tour and stuff, and at the end of the thing he's like, now that all being said, Jack Daniels created a legacy. He built that whole town. Lynchburg, Tennessee he built it. It wasn't there before him.
Right.
And this is the guy, he learned how to make booze from a slave of the pastor in that town prior to this. So he ran away from home and the pastor went and found him and he lived with him and he said, you're going to go out and you're going to, learn from him and help him. And that's what you're going to do. And then the town started saying, hey, you can't leave the church and also sell everybody booze. And then on Sunday, tell everybody you can't be drinking. So he ended up selling it to Jack and the slave, and they broke off and started their own thing, and that's where it all started. And right in that town. So
I did not know
and they
that.
get all their water from the spring that's right there. It's all spring fed water. And it's crazy, but they got barrels stacked up, 50 feet high and stuff that's been aged forever, and a lot of good stories and stuff, and a lot of different variations of the Jack Daniel's whiskey I never knew existed. Like they have a Sinatra label that I never even knew existed. I'm a huge Rat Pack fan, and I didn't even know that was a case. So at the end of it, he's like, now I have one thing to say to you. He goes, there is 1,500 people who work here in this factory, and there's 1,450 who live in this town. And if you didn't notice by looking at me, we need some fresh blood. And he just put
That's
it right,
awesome.
just put it right out there. So you say that evidently it does happen.
Hey,
But yeah, it's these guys produce everything right in the U.S., or at least 90% of it. Like a lot of your gemstones and diamonds are cut outside the U.S. just because it's cheap labor, like everything else there is. But they're one of the same factories that probably 80% of stores get their stuff from. So, and I have the same buy-in, because I kind of remember, right off the bat, I'm like, okay, let's see how bad they're going to screw me on things, because I don't have the buying power of 75 stores.
Right.
But I remember a couple of things, like, okay, I just bought this a few weeks back for somebody. Let me type it in there and see. And it was the same price.
So they're just dealing fair with you.
Yep. So they're and maybe they give larger stores a kickback at the end or whatever, something like that. But as far as the price when I'm purchasing it, my price is right there. I know what it is. So basically you call me and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. It's no problem. I find the ring and then I go look for diamonds. And that's where it gets to be dialed into like your budget and what you want, because you tell me what's most important for you. Is it the sparkle? Is it the cut? Is it the clarity of the stone? And then you tell me, just give me an honest figure of where your budget is. And I'll be honest with you and say, you can't afford this, if that's the case. But, if I can, I'll say, okay, here's where we're at. And here's 3 choices of stones. I can literally send you, and this is the cool thing, and this is where I keep saying I bring the cutting edge to where class is now. And I can send you diamonds viewed underneath a microscope, and you don't have to come to me. You can see them twirling in a 3D aspect, live video feed, or you can see them underneath the microscope. Then I can call you and say, okay, you got the diamond, right? Let's go over the inclusions that are in it. I'm going to tell you the differences of this.
So let's be realistic. We'll use Kyle as an example.
Yeah.
Let's say Kyle decides, or when Kyle decided he wanted to propose to his beautiful bride, so he comes to you and says, "Hey, I'm looking for a ring, and this is my." So you go out and you actually like find this ring, but there's still no diamond in it. This is the setting or whatever.
Yep. So
and then you go and search for the diamond for that ring and then set it.
Because the setting is where your base cost is. That's not going to fluctuate from dealer to dealer to dealer that much.
So you're not just going and buying a wedding ring already and then just selling it to a customer. You're actually like going and like putting those pieces together for them.
When you order something from me, whether it be Jeremy Ryder hit me up. I'm doing a donation for the Toys for Tots things out at Brock's Cousins Bar. Green Lantern.
Yeah, Green Lantern.
And and he's like, I was like, yeah, I can help you. When do you need it by? And I'm thinking a couple weeks. He's like, I just started doing this today and I need it by Saturday. And I'm like, fuck, I don't have inventory.
That's right. I need to get some gift certificates from the bar.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, well, here's what we'll do. I'll put together a certificate that says, here's what you can win, yada, yada, yada. But then I called them up and I was like, hey, here's the deal. I need something. So they're like, no problem. And they said, just search what's in stock and we'll get it to you. So literally I ordered it, put the order in Saturday. They shipped it Monday. I had it today before we left. The UPS was a little delayed. That's why we're on what I like to call Tony time of, being here a little later.
Right.
But they literally built the piece for me. They have all they didn't build it from scratch per se. They have the molds, they have the raw castings, but they polished it. They set all the stones, finished it off, and shipped it to me. So I can have stuff as quick as a day or two to you, or sometimes like if I got a piece I'm working on right now for a lady up north of Bemidji, and it's it's about a 3-week process because it's a full custom job. She had lost her wedding ring, sent me a picture of it. And we're building it from that picture to an exact replica for her.
Jesus Christ, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's literally anything. And it's what I'm doing right now is no different than what I have been doing for the last 18 years. It's just that I don't have the excess costs. So it's passing on a better price to the person.
Right.
And by me being able to research the diamonds and knowing what I know about diamonds, I can find you a better deal on it,
Right.
because I can say, okay, here's where it is. Here's where your budget's at. I can show you something that's at the top end of your budget, the mid and the low, and I'll explain what the differences are between them, so we can get you something you want that's going to fit all your needs, and it's going to save money, end game.
Yeah, it's fucking really cool. I didn't realize it was that involved.
Yeah, you can get it as involved as you want. And I mean, there's another vendor I'm working with. I just got finished up today, and all their stuff is finished goods. That's all they do.
Right.
And, so I just go to their website, click order, and literally I'm the middleman. So I took out, in a lot of this stuff, I took out about 5 other middlemen.
Right. Which you say that you're the middleman. And that sounds like a dirty word, kind of like, because you always want to cut out the middleman.
Right.
Fuck the middleman. Cut out the middleman.
Yeah,
but the
true.
thing is you are the middleman, but you're cutting out all of the other middlemen. So
Right.
whereas somebody walks into a jewelry store and they're going to buy directly from a jewelry store, there's a whole bunch of middlemen.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
And they're also paying for the overhead and so on and so forth. So when you say you're cutting out you are the middleman, that's a good thing. And then the other thing is it's really important to find a middleman you can trust, because that's the other thing that
Right.
really that's really the difference between buying from somebody that you know and trust than buying from Joe
for
Shit
me, the
Ragman
greatest
or
part
online or whatever.
was like, I went to Tony and I'm like, I don't know shit. He's like, well, do you want? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, this is my budget.
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
And that's
come on in, and totally took care of me.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is what I needed, because I don't know shit about jewelry. What do I know about jewelry?
And that was basically, I mean, that same scenario is how I took care of my customers. And the first thing they always teach in sales is never ask anybody a budget. That's always the first thing I ask them, because I don't want.
Oh, that's so dumb.
Yeah.
I feel like that's completely wrong-minded.
Yeah, because if in the sales Bible, if you ask someone how much they want to spend, you're never going to get them to spend more than that. But the thing is
I don't think that's even true.
you give me your budget and then tell me what you can afford, or what's important to you, and then I'll help you try to keep as close to that budget as we can. I'm going to show you what's a little over, a little under.
But that I think is completely bullshit.
Yeah.
To not ask somebody's budget, because first of all, you're wasting time then, because you're
Right.
showing them shit that they can't possibly afford.
Well,
And then B is, just because somebody tells you their budget, and then you say, okay, and then these are your needs. Well, we can't hit that budget. This is what we can get for you in that budget.
Right.
But for slightly over that budget, this is what you. And then,
Well,
many times people are willing to go over
and
that.
that's-
I think that's a much smarter approach to sales.
This day and age, that's where all the other stuff comes in. It's like, don't worry about it. We can get it to you for, $150 a month. We'll finance you. Oh, I got horrible credit. No problem. We'll get you on a lease to own plan. There's so many different ways in the jewelry world. It's just like every other world. It's evolved
To me,
that
that
now.
is so icky.
Yeah. So, like, you walk into any major big Hellsberg, K's, Rogers, within 5 minutes, you got somebody sitting you down and handing you a credit card app.
Ick.
And and guys right now, jewelry is the number one thing guys hate to buy, because you're already in a standoffish point when you're going in there. If you know nobody that's in there and you're like, I got to go get a ring, and you're like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to get, and you walk in, it's overwhelming, because
I wasn't sure what size she wore, so I chopped her hand off.
Yeah. I mean, you get some random weird shit, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah. And I'm glad you were able to stay in. I'm glad when you left Riddles, you were glad to stay. You were able to stay in business and stuff. I plan on coming to you for all my future marriages.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And
repeat business is good business.
But I sent Cody to him.
Yeah,
And
yep.
Cody still thanks me. It's been like a year, and Cody wanted an engagement ring, and he's still thanking me for recommending Tony. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's I sell to past employees who, this one gal, and this was a long time ago, but me and her never seen eye to eye on anything, and she quit, and she's just hating me, but she buys all of her jewelry from me still. It's just like,
right,
because she knows I'm just a no bullshit.
You need
type.
to find, if you're gonna have a jewelry, you need to find a jewelry you trust, not necessarily one you like,
Right.
just one you trust.
And that's exactly it. you know.
Yeah.
And it's just like you said, and Cody, and the referrals was probably 85% of my business. The sales staff would get so pissed all the time because they're like, "Oh, we're beating you." I was like, "Hold on, I just got a text." Let me put a blast on Facebook.
Yeah.
Let everybody know what I got going on.
I think, we communicated on Facebook.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
yeah,
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's nice that you can.
And that's kind of where things are at right now. I mean, there's so many different ways. So basically, I have a website out there, abrownjewelry.com. You can go on there. You can search
brownjewelry.com. Okay.
Yep.
abrownjewelry.com.
And I've been doing, some marketing to it. Right now, just doing some social media stuff. I do get some billboards. As a matter of fact, I got one on 371, a digital billboard heading up to Nisswa on the left-hand side. You can see it once in a while. If you miss me, you can see my smiling face there a couple times a day. But all around the St. Cloud metro, doing some billboards and stuff. And more so right now, there again, it's just like this big, in my head, I'm like, this is just going to be a science experiment. Let's see how it goes. Let's see what it does. And, it's like, okay, now I've done this. And, now let me put a little money behind it. Let me market it a little bit. Because at first I'm like, I'm just going to go off the people I know. And, in my head, my first sale, I think I was talking about this on the car with Adrian on the way up. The first sale in my head was going to be somebody I know is like, oh, you know what? Tony's been good to us. Let's throw him a bone. Let's just buy something for Christmas from him for a couple $100. My first sale was a pair of diamond earrings to a guy I've never known before in my life when I was in a hotel in Baton Rouge on vacation before I even had my website up. We're sitting there watching the Astros playing, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm from Houston." I was like, "Cool, I'm from Minnesota. What are you doing down here?" I just going my job, so I'm not really sure, and thinking about opening up a jewelry store. And by the time we left, he Bluetoothed me his contact information, and he's like, "Hey, you know what? I need a pair of 2-carat studs. So when you're up and running, give me a call." And away we went. So that was my first sale.
damn.
I didn't have a product. Hell, I wasn't even in business. At that point, I was still officially Riddle's employee still, because that was an official ending date and site or anything like that, because I haven't turned away their offer at that point. And so it was just like, that was almost too easy.
Yeah.
And it's, same thing. I mean, every sale, the bigger sales I've had have been so far, and I've only been up probably about 3 weeks, but they've been just referrals from people I know and random people who I have no connection to that, I don't know if they came across me on the web or what, but, or I met them at a hotel bar and,
right.
Whatever the case was, it put the impression on them.
But it's the jewelry business. Like, aren't all the transactions easy?
They aren't. You pay the price for a lot of them, and some of them, there's definitely, you get everybody, and all business is good business, but they sometimes cost you a lot more. And that's what I was telling Matt when we first sat down. I was like, you want me to take my hat off too? I mean, we could all be bald here. Yeah, because I had a lot more hair before I started doing retail. And I'm pretty much in tow with you guys. I just haven't bicked it yet. But,
so when Kyle was, like I said, we talked about having you on the very first time we met and talked about the podcast. But then a couple weeks ago, it was actually a couple months ago, because you made some fucking really good barbecue sauce.
Oh, you like that?
Yeah, I really like it.
I didn't know if he actually shared it, if you guys actually got it,
yeah,
or
they
made it out of the store.
I thought I was going to a drug deal. I wasn't sure. Kyle's like,
he met me in the parking lot at the gym, and I'm like,
he's like, I need to see you. And I was like, okay. He's like, I got something for you. I was like, fuck, what the fuck could this be? And he's like, can you meet me? I was like, sure. Where are you at? And he's like, I'm at the gym. I said, okay, I'll be there in 5 minutes. So I run over there, and he gives me this bottle of barbecue sauce. And
like, is it got cocaine?
I was like, Malil just put it, but I'll try it. It was really, really good.
Thanks.
And
it's the bling sauce, baby.
The bling sauce.
Yeah.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good name.
Yeah.
Are you going to actually launch a line of these?
Here's the thing. It's in Minnesota. They got these. I don't know what the heck it's called, but you can sell so much out of your house, but you have to hand deliver it to the end consumer.
Oh.
Like, I can't sell a case of it to Colburn's, and they'll go sell it for me.
If that's something you are interested in, Little Falls has this place called the Sprout Growers and Makers Market. Yeah. And they have a totally certified commercial kitchen that you can rent.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's called it's sproutmn.com or .org.
That literally is what's stopping me from.
Yeah, you should check it out. It's not even expensive.
Because I post, with that, and I sell it for like $7 a bottle, so it's not expensive.
Right.
And people are like, I put that shit on my pizza this morning. It's addictive as hell. Maybe there's cocaine in it. I don't even know. But
Well, you better fucking know what's in it, because that's kind of important.
There is now.
Yeah. But like I'll post a picture and it started out me and the boys making it, and literally about 10 minutes later, all the bottles will be sold.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's just one of those fun things, you're not making that much maybe.
But if that is something you ever wanted to look into doing
Sprout.
a little bit more commercially, sproutmn.com, and they have they took over the old Crestliner building.
Okay.
And they did like a multi-million-dollar build out in there, and it's a non-profit organization.
Really?
Super awesome. They do they have a local food hub. They network with all these farms. I've talked about them a great deal on the show, so I don't want to bore the fuck out of everybody. But they have this commercial kitchen that you can rent, and you can do shit like that, and a lot of people do. And
that's perfect, because everything I make, they're like, well, what flavors do you have? I was like, I don't have nothing right now. It just depends on what's in season. Like I make a watermelon bling sauce that, it was like, you made chicken wings taste like watermelon, It's like, how does that happen? And
seems like there's a racial aspect to that.
Right? I'm trying to think of which one I gave. Was it the wild blue raspberry?
Yes.
Yeah, that was the one that you got.
Yeah. So far, that's been like the crowd favorite.
Yeah, it's very good.
And I forgot.
A little spicy.
On the way up here, I was like, I forgot to bring the bling sauce. I have a buttery caramel apple I just made.
Oh, interesting.
And it's got some good taste to it. And that one's a little bit for Kyle, a little bit more. It's a little less spice to it.
Well, right, because that was Kyle's like, I'm afraid I'm not gonna be able to eat it because it'll be too spicy. But apparently you did eat it.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah. Well, Christine cooked with it a
yeah.
couple of times, and shit, it's amazing. Because I'm a baby like that. Like I've got the those wasp taste buds and shit. Mayo is spicy.
Right. No Arby's sauce for you.
What is this? It's so spicy. Water.
Yeah. Did you put ice cubes in it?
Last thing I want to say about Sprout though is they also have this growers and makers market that they run all winter long. So they do like a growers market or like a what is that called? Farmers market.
Yeah.
But they call it a growers and makers market.
Okay.
And a lot of people who use the kitchen to do preserves or whatever, they sell there, and it's real cheap. So just check it out. It's really good.
I definitely will hit that up because it's...
And Little Falls is kind of a nice halfway point between the two spots.
Well, I live in Rice, so it's like...
Oh, geez, right
minutes.
there. Yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, I went over to get the barbecue sauce and make the drug deal with Kyle.
Yep.
And I was like, I didn't know fucking Tony Brown made barbecue sauce. And he's like, yeah, the guy's crazy. He goes, and he's got the craziest fucking story. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, it's okay. And he starts to try, and he goes, you know what? I don't even want to tell it to you.
I can't even do it justice.
But I really want to have him on the show to tell the story. And I was like, well, I want to have Tony on the show because I like Tony, but I want him to tell the story. But then you kind of couldn't for a while. You were kind of had a little bit of a...
Well,
so I want to know this fucking story.
It is, in the 17, 18 years I've been doing it, I get a lot of stories. Like I was telling Kyle, I was like, most of them are like lovey-dovey tearjerker, and those are good stories. I mean, that's kind of why I like my business. But yeah, this one, she definitely gets the crazy bitch award. And I can't, and I still, we'll maybe use some fictitious names or something.
Sure.
I don't care. We don't care.
But it's,
we'll dox that bitch. We don't care.
There's still some maybe litigating going on or something, but, I don't
Just in case there's an
anymore.
algorithm that picked up the word dox, we will not actually dox her. Please don't remove us from our platforms.
So this kid I know, I sold him his first wedding ring up here. And, that marriage went away or whatever the case is. And I knew the kid, from up here. I know his family. His family's pretty well known up here. I sat on a board of directors with one of his uncles. The kid is like...
Nice kid. He's,
yeah.
uber Christian.
Yeah. If he's seen a seagull choking on some bread in the, in the mall parking lot, he'd go revive it. I mean, this is... you would think this kind of stuff happens in this kind of situation, so he come to me, actually he emailed me, and he said, hey, I need looking to get married again, and you're the guy I'm going to talk to, you're my guy, and that's what, like we talked, that's kind of what I do.
And you can melt down this last ring of and remake it.
It's like it didn't even happen. All the bad voodoo's gone, and so anyways, I was like, yeah, come down, and so he come down, he's like, so here's what she wants. And, he's like, she wants an infinity band with a large round diamond in the center. She wants like a 2-carat. I can't afford it.
What's an infinity band?
Like a figure 8.
Okay,
Basically
okay.
going up the sides.
I mean, I know
kind of a little
I know what
twist to it.
infinity is, but okay,
Yeah.
I can
Like
see
the
it on a
infinity
band.
tattoos that basic bitches have.
Yeah, right.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. Just take something off a tramp stamp and we make it out of jewelry.
Oh yeah, there you go.
But so anyway, I was like, okay, no problem. So and with jewelry, because everybody changes their terminology, like Kays calls something one thing, and Riddles calls something one thing, and Hellsberg calls it a different. So a lot of stuff can get lost in translation. But he sent me some pictures, and I custom built a piece. He's like, "Oh my God, that's it! That's crazy that you could do that." And and I think he wanted it to be a certain price point. We got it in there, and he goes, "Well, here's the other thing, I kind of want to propose to her, but I'm trying to sell my house up in Brainerd right now, and I can't do it till that sells, and I just got a car, and I don't want to do nothing like credit." And I was like, "Well, we financed, we can get you financed." So we called in and they got him financed, and I gave him the I know this guy, if we can get him some kind of a good deal and some financing, get him taken care of. I know he's good for it.
I wonder how many, on a percentage, how many marriages end before that ring's fucking paid off.
There's a few.
I bet it's I bet it's what do they call it? Statistically significant.
Most of them are the ones where the guy.
I kind of like having an audience.
Yeah. See,
Which reminds me,
I should have brought more.
Yeah.
I
I don't want to throw it too close to the camera, but
right. When guys don't listen to the girl a lot, like no girl expects you to get exactly what she wants, but you got to kind of pick and choose. And it's like I'm doing a crossword puzzle when you come in, or a word find. It's like, I think somewhere along the line she said round. It's like, oh, cool,
They don't listen to the guy they don't listen to the girl about the jewelry because they already tried listening to her when they asked her what she wanted to fucking eat.
Right.
So like,
and
anything's
she still
fine.
hasn't told you.
How about this? No.
Yeah.
So it's not going to go any better with the jewelry. No,
Right.
actually, I feel like they have a much better idea of what they want in jewelry.
And that's where we always, I always say, look at the Pinterest. And girls out there, for Christ's sakes, unlock your bridal Pinterest board. It's not a secret. Let people see that, because that is the number one way to make sure you get what you want. Even if it's
that is solid advice.
Even
I
if
have
it's
no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah,
but
even
it is
if it's
solid advice.
Even if you're pinning $300,000 rings on there, I can look at that and say, well, all these rings that nobody could ever afford, including myself and yourself put together, all have this in common. So let's look for something with that theme to it. Because most of the rings that are on Pinterest are $300,000 rings.
Right.
And they're like, oh my God, I looked at what she has and I can't afford it. Don't worry about it. Let's look at what she's actually looking at based off those pictures. And then we find something you can afford,
You might be good at this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's, so anyway, yeah, you do get it. And, it's part of the business is you get some come back and like, hey, I should have known when the asshole didn't listen to me when I wanted this ring, he got me this instead. It wasn't going to fit. So you get that sometimes, but everything fits. I mean, hell, I've been divorced myself. It's just one of those deals. It's life. You live it. But anyway, back to this other thing. So, this cat, we'll call him Jonah.
Sure.
I got him financed. He went, and it was a rush, can you get it for me next week? Cause, and I was like, because I want to propose to her when I'm closing on the house and she's with me. Yep, no problem. Get it for her. She comes in and she's just like, I hate this ring. And I was like, what? She's like,
he buys this ring and he ends up taking out essentially a loan for it.
Yeah.
He proposes to her. She apparently says yes.
Yep. It's on her finger like 3 days later. And, and she's like, I hate it. I don't like nothing about it. And what she wanted was an eternity band. Completely different thing. Eternity bands have diamonds that go all the way around.
But seriously, infinity, eternity, fucking, like, you
right.
gotta be using smaller words.
They both ended in 80 either way,
right.
But it's, it's just one of those deals. So it's like, hey, no problem. We'll take care of it. That's what we do. So we got her a band she liked.
Okay, so then what? You take that ring back.
We took it back, yep.
And then you what? Try to replace it with something else.
Yeah. Inside
that budget, so that like nothing.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. But and so we got him into ring number 2, and she sent me stuff, and this time she custom built it. Now, when the girl's involved, you kind of know what you're getting for sure, and okay, you get a good vibe. Like, this is solid, and we built it and everything, and it came, and she wore it home, and or whatever. No, she didn't even wear it. They didn't even leave the store. She put it on, and she's like, I know you're really proud of this ring because you guys designed it, but it's not at all what I liked. I was like, but I got your emails right here that said it's exactly what you liked. Like, you looked at the wax mold of it, which is exactly like the ring, and you said it's perfect, other than it's green and not white and shiny, because wax molds are green. It's like a green wax.
Could have got her a green one.
Right? He probably should have. We all would have been better off at that deal. But so then she goes, here's the deal. You're not dealing with him anymore. And Jonah started talking, and she literally put her hand up and was like, pushed him away. She's like, you're dealing with me. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to start over. We're starting all the way over. And I'm just like, what in the hell is going on here? I've never had this in all of my years. Like, in any retail, you deal with customers, but this was different. Like, this was crazy.
Is this where you pull Jonah aside and go like, dude, I don't think you should marry this fucking bitch?
Right. It's the thoughts go through your head, but you don't know what they got, so it's like
level with me.
Yeah.
How good is this pussy?
Right. So he's like, okay, he's like, whatever she wants, and he's like, I'm selling my house. It's sold. The buyer, we couldn't get it done last time, but the buyer everything's going to happen, and it's going to happen in another month or so. And, so whatever she wants, I don't care. No budget this time. So we ended up getting her this way bigger diamond.
So you take this other ring back.
Yep. Ring number 2.
But he's already spent some money.
Yeah. So
that's on
so
loan,
basically you just transfer whatever he's financed onto the piece they end up with.
Okay.
That's not a big. It happens. We do this all the time.
What do you do with the rings that you take back?
Depending on what they are, some of them just get scrapped because, especially if they're customized, they're kind of built for a person. So the chances that somebody else is going to like that.
You don't throw them in the garbage though. Like
no.
The diamonds come out.
Yeah, the diamonds come out. You melt all the gold.
So it's just the part that you lose is the labor and the cost of the molding. And all that.
Exactly, and it happens. But so anyway, it's like, okay, here we go, and found her a diamond. She told, she knew to a T, and I give her credit there because she knew exactly what she wanted. She's like, nothing smaller than a carat and a fifth. It's got to be at least this quality. It's got to be
specific.
Yeah, I mean, to the T. So, and I found her exactly that. I found it in their price range, and we got her all said and done. And they came, and he's like, hey, we're on our way to Brainerd. We're closing on the house tomorrow. So I'm going to write you a check for it. And then the money will be in the bank Monday, obviously, once the closing's done. And I was like, yeah, no problem. There again, know the guy. I know everything about the guy. And I know most of his friends. I know everything. And, so then, all of a sudden on Sunday at midnight, I get a call or a email. It's like, hey, we didn't close on the house, so don't cash that check. And I was like, what the hell? I was like, well, the check's already, rolling. It's already going. So I was like, it's like, well, that's a bad check. You shouldn't cash that. I was like, you wrote it. It's like, I said, you do realize it's not like you owed me $40
about that check.
Yeah. So he's like, well, we'll figure it out. Let me figure it out. So it came back and shit happens.
Right.
There's been plenty of instances like this, not exactly like this, but stuff happens, especially when you're dealing with bigger sums of money. Stuff takes time. Sometimes wire transfers don't go through, whatever. So it's not the end of the world, at this point. So, kind of a week goes by and I haven't heard from him.
Do you mind giving me a ballpark of how much money we're talking about?
The check was about $7,000. I'll say that. Plus he was financed for some.
So we're talking 10, 15.
Yeah, somewhere.
$1,000 fucking dollars for a ring. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I'd shoot myself in the head.
So, so I call him up and his phone number doesn't work. I'm like, what in the fuck is going on? There's no way this kid is doing this to me. Out of everybody I know, this kid could not be doing this to me. So I call her up and she answers. And she's like, we knew you were going to try to cash that check, so that's why we stopped payment on it. And I was like, what? She's like, yep, I closed the account. There's no money in there. You can't cash it. And I'm not going to pay those fees, so I just closed the account. I was like, but you have my diamond. And she's like, yep, and we'll pay you when we get the funds, and that's just the way it is, and that's going to have to be good enough. And so then I'm like, all right. So we go back and forth with, obviously we got legal departments and everything else. We're going back and forth trying to figure out what the hell we're going to do. So it's like, all right, well, let's try to reason with him a little bit. So I call him up, and he's not answering. So finally I called where he works, and he got the message in. And then he called me back from his phone that magically started working. And he's like, I talked to her. We're gonna bring it back to you. We're gonna bring it back tonight, and everything. I was like, all right, cool, no problem. So then I hang up the phone with him, and I get a call from her almost immediately, and she's like, hey, talk,
Jonah.
Oh, Jonah, and you dub that out, and
I will.
Everything, he told me everything. I'm at home because we just got new cars and we had to get all the locks changed in them. So I'm waiting for the locksmith to come. So if you want to just come by and get the ring, that'd be fine. So I'm like, okay. And this whole deal is just weird. So at this point, I call the guys at the office.
He had to get his locks changed. What's going on?
I don't know. Kyle brought up a good point. We're thinking maybe they didn't want to get the cars repoed, so they're changing the locks.
Oh my God. Okay.
Maybe they're going on a whole scheme here. But so, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to take somebody with me because I'm going to have a witness with me if I go get this ring, So we're half driving down there. And then he calls me and says, well, I want to be there when you come. I was like, yeah, no problem. We'll wait for you. You guys can meet me if you want. And he's like, oh, that'd be great. We'll just meet at a gas station so you don't have to come to the house. I was like, all right. Hang up the phone with him. About 3 minutes later, she calls. She's like, listen, if you think you're going to come to this house and take this ring from me, you got another thing coming. I was like, what? She's like, I will gut you and feed your entrails to my dog while my neighbors watch. And this girl is like 90 pounds stripping. I mean, she is a tiny little thing, and I'm scared because I'm literally
as you should be.
Right?
I'm like, this girl is going to be on a fucking Lifetime movie. That's where this is going. I'm going to be the jeweler that they found buried somewhere, and how in the hell did I get myself into this situation?
I want to hear this whole story in the guy from Dateline's voice.
Right?
Right.
This sounds like fucking Dateline, like to a T.
So so at that point, I told the office, said, listen, I'm not going to get this thing. These guys are crazy. They're going to try to pull some kind of scheme. I don't know what's going on. So we got the cops involved.
So is there like a mechanism? Like, is there like a ring repo man?
Well, yeah, me.
Well, I mean, other than you, like, is there like people professionally, like you could, who they hire to go and?
I suppose you could. I mean, a lot of times you go like bail bondsmen, and they'll do just about anything for things like that.
I know a guy.
Yeah, right. And
but I don't think it's legal.
Well, if you have all the documentation that says it's the same.
The guy I know is not.
Oh, well, that's a whole different deal too. I don't think they're legal either. So
that's true. So,
so
anyway, you call the police, and the police will go and get the ring back.
Well, here's what happens. So the cop comes out, and I tell him everything. The first thing he goes, "Oh, well, this isn't theft. You guys finance." And I was like, "No." So I went back over it. He's like, "Oh, bell rings." He's like, "Okay. Makes sense. I see what happened now." So I was like, yeah, here's the check, and he's like, okay, no problem. He goes, yeah, this is definitely theft. He goes, this is kind of
check fraud too.
Yeah, theft by swindle, basically.
Right.
And he said, it's expensive enough. This is going to be a felony charge. This is kind of going to be a big deal. You sure you want to go through with this? And I said, maybe. And I said, maybe this is wrong to ask you. And I said, maybe if you just reached out to him, then they would know that, hey, this is your last ditch effort. We need to get this thing back. And, and I told him, I said, we'll keep it in the vault. It's your ring. Why don't you pay for it? You pick it up, And he's like, we don't do that anymore. He goes, if you're going to have me fill a report, he says, we go the full Monty down. He goes, we don't mess around, and we're not going to, we're all friends again. Never mind, because we're too fucking busy.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, well, I said, that's where we're at. These people have told everybody in my entire company to F off. At one point, I can't remember, I was in the car driving with Scott, his wife. We were on our way to some managers meetings, and a couple other managers in the car with me. And, and I put her on, she picked up on the car phone or whatever when we were driving, because we were using my phone for the music or whatever. And she was just like, I don't care about you. I don't care about your kids. You can go fuck your kids, and I hope you get fired because of this. And I don't care about nobody, but you're not getting this ring. And and it's just crazy shit. So anyway, so the cop, I reach out to him, and he's like, it's probably going to be a couple weeks before I have anything on this, because before I can do it, I got to go to my sergeant. He tells me, okay, here's where we're going to go. And then you got to talk to the attorney and figure out if it's chargeable. And so I call him back in a couple weeks because I haven't heard anything. He goes, just because it's taking so long, I will reach out to him for you. So he left like 5-6 messages at each one of their phone numbers, and they had like 6 of them. And nothing. And at some point, they came in and threw the ring on the counter and left and just kept the diamond. So now they just have the diamond, which is the expensive part. But so they know what they're doing.
What?
So the cop tells me, he's like, well, do you have any way like you can get the word out to other jewelry stores or anything? So I was like, oh, we got the Jewelers Association. He goes, you should email them and just have them do a blast so everybody knows who these people are. Because if they're doing it to you, they're going to do it to other people.
So the diamond, so they took the diamond, just the main one, or the one, because didn't it have the ones all the way around it?
Yeah, just the main one. So what they did is they went to another jewelry store and said, hey, we're looking to reset our stone. They didn't know how old it was or anything like that. So, and she says, yeah, it was really easy. I just told them I wanted to see my stone and they're sitting. So they just pulled it out for me. And I said, oh, just put it in a baggie. Don't put it back in there. I don't want that ring anyway. So it's like, this crazy little girl had everything planned out to a T. So the
how much of the, let's say, $10,000 is that diamond? That's the,
if we're using 10 as a fraction, I'd say that's 60% of the value.
60% of the value of the ring.
Yeah. Yep. So at that point we had, we done everything we could. It's in the deal with the cops now, and they're not returning any of the phone calls to the cops. We've sent them certified mail, everything. So the state's attorney still, they're kind of trying to decide if they're going to charge them, because they're like, wow, we don't even know if we should go after this, because it's technically you were financing some of it. So that's kind of an internal thing you guys should deal with, and yada, yada, yada. So that's
yeah, but you were financing.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
100% ridiculous. But I have never to this day met someone as crazy as that woman.
To say she's going to gut you and feed her your entrails to her dog in front of her neighbors. That's
yes.
And not only am I going to murder you, I'm going to make sure there are witnesses to your murder.
And this is like 10 minutes after. She's like, oh yeah, come on by. I got some people to come change the locks in the house, coming in the cars. So, you just swing by and pick it up. And then she's like, if you come try to take this ring, I'm going to gut you and feed your entrails to my dog, and the other kicker of this is their dog. She was bragging about how she fakes it as being a help dog, or she's like, yeah, so he comes everywhere with us, and we just basically ordered up fake documentation for it. You can do it right online, just like getting a fake ID. And I'm like,
and then you were like, so you want to just write me a check?
Yeah, I was like, perfect. I'm sure this would be great. But it was
service animal. That's what they're called.
Yeah, service animal. There you go. And and it was just it was up to that point. I mean, you get some weird stuff once in a while in the jewelry store. There's and it's just part of the deal. It's, you don't ask questions. You help them. You help them find what they want. You don't know their business. They don't know your business. And you hope the best for them. But sometimes it just doesn't work out. But
so how is their marriage?
I don't know. I've not contacted them.
I'm gonna just venture a guess. Shitty.
Well, I'm thinking by now she's probably moved somewhere, and he's I don't know.
Dog food.
Yeah,
might be
possibly
for her service animal,
and for her to know that her dog would eat. This is it wasn't even around.
It was a purse dog.
Yeah, it was like
she's gonna feed your entrails to a fucking purse dog.
Yeah, like Beverly Hills Chihuahua. We're talking.
You're shitting me.
No. So this is the thing that gets
she
to
didn't
me.
stay in one sitting.
That dog.
In her defense.
Well, that's true. I'm gonna butcher you, and then in tiny little chunks, I'm gonna feed you to my dog. Well, I'm already dead, baby. And so at that point,
who says go fuck your kids? Right. I mean, I'll say go fuck yourself, but I think go fuck your kids is kind of like next level.
It's like, where did that even come from? But it's
the subcockle region.
The thing that gets me is she's had to have fed entrails to this dog before if she knew the dog would eat it. Who else is missing?
Right. Solid point.
Somebody somewhere is missing, and that Chihuahua knows.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
The first thing that popped into my head when he was telling me the story, though, is like, based on what we all know about crazy girls,
Jonah.
yourself into this situation. The sex is phenomenal. I guarantee.
You have said the name. That's twice now. I'm going to have to go back through and beep this out.
Damn it.
So we do not do any editing other than when somebody says a name that they can't say.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to fucking gut you and feed you to my dog.
You're going to have to go get a Chihuahua now.
Yeah, I don't even have a dog. But if I did have a dog, it would be a respectable gut eater. It wouldn't be no fucking Chihuahua.
Right?
Yeah. It'd be a dog that could just eat you. She wouldn't have to like take the guts out and fucking, like, oh, here you go, sweetheart.
One of the ladies that was riding in the car with us to the manager meeting, she was like, you should call the cops and have them watch your house. Your wife and kids are there by themselves. What if they go there? Like, they couldn't go to my house. What if they go to my house?
Yeah, it's crazy.
But and that there again, that is like the absolute craziest story I got. I got tons of ones. Like, I had this guy one time. He was overseas. He was in Iraq, and he was a customer of mine, and he wanted to propose, and we couldn't figure out. He's like, I don't want to do it at Christmas when our whole family's there, and yada yada yada. And this is when I was in Brainerd, and he's like, how am I going to do this? And so we found a video box. I opened it up and it plays video. Back in, it was probably MP1. That's how old the boxes were, but battery operated. So you record it on a memory card, pop it in there, and you open the box, the video plays. So what we did is he recorded the video. I saved it to my computer, saved it on there. And she would always, whenever, this was probably my second year there. So he'd been overseas for a little bit. He was in the National Guard or something. And I don't think he was in the full-fledged Army. I think it was National Guard at that point. And, so she would just come in on her birthdays and, he'd say, hey, spend about $150. Here's my card, type thing. So I'd call her up. So she didn't know anything different. She just coming in and gave her a box. I was like, no, you can't open it until Christmas when everybody's around. She's like, okay. And so he got to propose to her. Somebody was videotaping her opening the box. She got to hear him propose, what he wanted to say. It was a brilliant thing for him because, if it was me, I would have erased it and started over like 42 or 50 times,
right.
Especially.
And then after you like, okay, this is good. Send it off. And then you're like, fuck, no.
Right.
That was terrible.
And then somebody was videotaping her
opening the box
so that like they could send that video to break his heart while he was overseas fighting for our
Exactly.
country.
Exactly.
Have you ever been in the situation where you knew the people personally and they came in and they were like, dude, I'm going to propose to her and I'm looking for a ring, and you're like, no.
Yeah. You get some of that too.
No.
You definitely do.
I ain't selling you a ring.
There was one
Ain't
gal
happening.
in a mall.
Have you met her?
Right? There was a mall I was at, and this little gal would come in all the time, and just a nice gal, and they had a kid together and stuff, and he's like, all right. He said, we can get it after the first of the year. So he came in with her, and, he was 100% this. And most guys, they're like, okay, let's go get it. They got some energy to them, and let's do this. And he was just like, whatever. Is that the one you want? She's like, yep. He's like, well, you got the checkbook. I'm going to the arcade.
Wow.
And I walked out, and I just...
Match made in heaven.
And it was one of those things, because I don't have a filter, and, so... And I was saying it in my head, but it came out my mouth. I was just, forever. And she looked at it, she's like, I know, I get it from everybody,
Well, maybe that,
they're still married.
Yeah, maybe
They're
that's
still
their
married. They got a few
style.
kids.
It worked out.
Sometimes that whole opposite attracts thing, but it's, there's, you get a lot of, I've had people who wouldn't buy jewelry for me because they didn't want their wife to be to find out that they were going to propose. And like, if I buy it from you, she's going to somehow find out because someone's going to see me in your store or this or that.
I would think you're pretty good at keeping secrets.
I generally am, but it's true. Like,
and who's going to pass up the opportunity to go in there in disguise?
There's always that. But, a lot of the towns I was in are small towns. So it's like, you wouldn't believe how many people would, be, oh, yeah, especially this day and age. It's like, yeah, so-and-so see me at the jewelry counter. And I was like, oh, are you buying her a ring finally? And
yeah, I know that's like a thing about, like, that's come up on, what is it called? Your GPS location services or whatever. Like sometimes it'll automatically check you in places.
Yeah.
And people and usually like, it's usually not sweet.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh, I was at Riddle's Jewelry buying you a ring.
Yeah.
It was more like,
Yep.
I was at Hooters.
Yep.
Banging on.
I was only at Sugar Daddy's because I got a flat tire.
Right, exactly. For 4 hours.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I was at Riddle's getting my side piece, something to keep her like waiting, like waiting in the wings while I'm,
you have had those customers in years too. It's like, all right, we got the wife taken care of. Now I need something for the girlfriend.
And you're like,
hey, that's jeweler patient confidentiality.
I have a friend. A friend is maybe a rough. A kid I know who I train with, and he is I can't even say because people will know right away that if I say where he's from, but he is from a foreign country, and he has like a very interesting outtake on women especially.
Yeah.
But he was one day he was in there, and I can't do his accent either. People know, but he was just saying, yeah, my wife sucks at doing laundry. So I had my girlfriend come over and explain to her how to do it correctly.
Oh, God.
And I was like, haha, that's really funny. He's like, oh, you think I'm kidding? Oh, no. And he's not kidding. Like, he has a wife and a girlfriend, and like, he got his fucking girlfriend to come over to explain to his wife how to do laundry. He likes it done this way. He likes it because he was bitching because his gi wasn't the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah. And
he was like, yeah, I'm sorry, my gi isn't correct. I was like, what? There is such a thing as correct,
right?
It's clean. That's important, but that's about it.
Doesn't
I don't care whether it was starched. It really doesn't matter to me. But I just got a kick out of that. So,
yeah, you get, it's thankfully there's more really, really good stories over the years. It's I think like the 16, 17 years I was with Riddles, I sold $3.5 million worth of stuff, roughly about 1,500 engagement rings.
Wow.
And that's a lot of lives you get to touch, and you're part of that. And it's you sell them a promise ring, you sell them birthday gifts and everything else, and that's really the thing. And that's the tough thing about jewelry is everything is tied to emotion. So whatever happens to that ring, good or bad, after, if a stone falls out, it's like, oh my God, this is my wedding ring,
right?
And it's, to me, it's like, oh, it's 5 minutes in the back, no problem, but it's everything represents something in the jewelry world. And so you get a lot of stuff like that, but you are tied to your customers. You're involved in your customers' lives. Everything. Usually, sometimes you're the first person to know when something's going on.
Right.
I joke and say,
right, because they come in and they're like, hey,
yeah,
what can I get for this?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's just one of those deals. But you get a little bit of everything in the world, but it's a crazy world, but it's a fun place to be, and that's kind of why I wanted to start this and start it on my own is, it's, I want to put the fun back into it, because for me, it got, at the end of it, it was starting to get just about business
and any time you have to, we had Antia on, a friend of ours who's, she's a realtor, but, and yeah, I put an I in that fucking word because it sounds better. But she's a realtor, and she also does flowers.
Realtor.
She does flowers for like weddings and shit.
Oh yeah.
And she's starting a shop, and we were talking about like I have, as soon as somebody says I'm gonna go from doing something out of my home or out of like on a what did you call it, concierge, like a concierge service, to starting a shop where you have, hours and overhead and so on and so forth.
Right.
And I'm always like, think it through, because, one way is easy and the other way is a commitment. You gotta have a commitment. So I was like, so I'm worried about that. So I think that's kind of like the best model going forward is doing it.
Well,
like
in this way too, I'm 100% mobile. I'm actually looking right now. I'll end up getting some office space in St. Cloud for sure, and possibly actually looking at maybe doing an office up here if I can get something that's halfway reasonable, so I can have a space up here too. So just so I have a place where I can actually meet people if they don't have a place or something like that.
But what are you talking about, man? There's fucking caribous everywhere.
I know, but you still have to have a little bit of. Sometimes you have to have that disclosure aspect. It's the same thing.
Yeah, you don't want to be caught with with Tony in the fucking
Yeah.
Caribou.
Yeah.
Ring.
It's like, oh, Tony Brown was in town. Someone's getting hitched.
I can see that.
So it.
So what you need is like a little bordella, like something a little secret.
Maybe
We need a building.
Well, literally,
if I can find a crib.
literally, you could rent a little apartment. I mean, because you're not even you're like that. You could set up as a little office because you don't need
like a studio.
You don't need a
or something,
real retail space.
No.
It doesn't have to be a because you're not gonna have inventory there.
No.
'Cause you're not gonna be there.
In this town, the retail space might be less expensive.
Solid point.
Right.
Solid point.
You know,
Yeah.
something even just plain office space is basically where my next in my head. That's my next solid move is getting one office and then being remote out of there and then seeing because I get a lot of traffic out of the cities too. So it's like, okay, is my next step from having an office in St. Cloud, having an office in somewhere in the metro, or is it having an office somewhere in Brainerd, or where do you go from here? So I'm baby stepping it. Right now, my plan is to roll through the end of the year and probably through the first quarter of next year, and then just kind of step back and take a look and see where things are at and evaluate it.
And I would imagine not having on-hand inventory saves a lot in insurance too.
Yeah,
Because that's always the thing is like,
right,
because I love me a good jewelry store heist movie,
right,
right?
yeah.
So I know they're a good place to hit.
Yeah, it'd be like
So-
Ocean's 15 or something.
Right.
Film
So you don't have to deal with that
Right.
because you're just you just have the one piece you're going to meet them with or whatever.
Yep.
Yep.
So it makes it, and then you don't have the overhead because I don't have to pay for 50 other rings that are sitting in my showcase that no one is buying on your ring that you're buying from me.
Right.
So that cuts that back. And then the flip side of it for the customer and the end game is they got a piece that was literally made for them.
Yeah. No, I think it's very cool. So again, it's brownjewelry.com.
Mhm.
So Kyle and I like to do this thing called
Sword
what do we
crossing.
call it? Well, we love that. We
Our
also do
scheme?
We also do the beasts that make 2-packs, but the beast with 2-packs. Yeah,
You're talking about the Stay Poor Slow scheme?
Yeah, the Stay Poor Slow scheme, and part of that is to take on not sponsors, where we don't take sponsorship money, but we still support them, and we'll definitely be doing that.
We like to endorse businesses because we feel like
that.
our it's worth every penny that you don't spend
Right.
when we endorse your business.
Right.
So
Well, I
we talk a lot
appreciate
about
that.
restaurants that we frequent and shit like that, and but yeah, it sounds like you got a really good thing going, and
Yeah, it's been it's surprisingly, like I said in the beginning, I was like, I don't know if anybody would even follow, and that was really kind of the first test is if they're going to follow me, or if they were truly going to the business and he's definitely the nice guy that helps us all the time, but we're going to keep going here.
So it actually, because I didn't know that you weren't working at Riddles anymore until you got here, but it makes more sense now that I think back of, because Tony Martin put a nice thing out on Facebook about you and talked about it, and I listened to it and I was like, I don't know what's going on. I didn't pay that much attention to it. Actually,
and there again, that goes all the way back to the Brainerd connection with Brock and everything else. Me and Tony got to be good friends, and we randomly talk. I'll call him once in a while, make sure he's still alive and things like that. And
right, it's usually a good point.
Yeah, and he's always been great at supporting me, and he always sends people my way and stuff like that.
And you've always been great at supporting him. Let's face reality. That's the direction that support has gone. I mean, not that he doesn't support you as well, but
but it's and like I say, he was the first. He's like, I told you, I send people to Tony. I don't send people to Riddles.
Right.
Yep. And when he told me that, back when we had this conversation, I was just like, I don't know. That's a whole nother hell of a beast to take on, and now it's like, at first it was kind of, holy shit, I'm my IT guy. I'm my website guy. I'm my marketing guy. I'm my advertising
You've
guy.
always been kind of good at all that as well. I mean,
I always dabbled and stuff. And that's the nice thing about it is I can handle it all for the most part. So it's...
well, now you don't have to show up to work 9 to 5 and all that crap too, which makes a big difference.
The 100% biggest thing that I've learned thus far is, number one, I should have took vacations every year, and I never did.
Right, because every time you took a vacation, just like you were saying, you sold more shit on vacation.
Yeah,
when you went down there.
And spending time now. Dominic is 7, and it just the shit I've learned from this kid in the past 3 months, being around him more and watching my youngest son grow more. And Brittles is by far none. I mean, they are not the retail slave drivers. They're not.
Right.
You got to work 80 hours a week and this type of thing. They're very family orientated for the most part, and but still, just seeing how much life I missed and seeing where these guys.
There's
are
no
going.
two ways about it, man.
No. Yeah.
Showing up to, like, no matter how great a job is, it's a job.
Yeah.
You have to show up to get paid, and that's taking time away from other things.
Yeah.
And even
it's-
if you love your job, it's still taking time away from other things.
And, it's like Dom's first year in wrestling was last year, and I wanted to try to squeeze in one tournament in the end, and it just they're all on Saturdays and stuff like that, and like we talked.
Oh yeah, I suppose you work just tons of weekends too.
Yeah, and it's of course youth wrestling season is mostly during the holiday season, so you can't really take Saturdays off for stuff like that. So it's
And now you can still still sell shit ton of stuff during the holidays. It's just
I'll be
whenever
selling it
you-
at the wrestling matches.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's
Yeah.
it's just
Out
like
of
when
your
I was
weird trench coat.
It's just like when I was coming up here today. I posted on Facebook earlier this afternoon that, hey, I'm going to be in the Brainerd area.
I saw that. Didn't understand what the fuck you were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
makes
know,
sense now.
Yeah. And I was just like, probably within an hour of posting that, I had someone hit me up and say, hey, can we meet you somewhere? Because I want to talk about this.
Awesome.
And and that's basically what I'm doing. It's just telling people, hey, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here. And especially this time of year now, like I'll probably make a once a week trip up to this area and just set up shop in Caribou or something and say, hey, this is where I'm going to be. Call me. We can set up an appointment. I can come to you or whatever the case is. And that way for my customers who are up here, I can help them.
We can do it over at 9th Street and get drunk.
Yeah, there we go. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, that way if you do it at 9th Street, then and somebody like sees you, you can just let the bartender know, and then they will get them really fucked up, and then they won't remember.
Right?
That would never happen because nobody at 9th Street ever overserves anybody. That was good.
Maybe we can do business in the kitchen or something. It'd be like an old speakeasy. You got to see the password to get in to see the jeweler.
Right. There you go. There you go. Go on.
Yeah, so that's kind of the way it's been going. It's just kind of the referral, and the scariest part about it is you don't know. Okay, I had a good sale, but now when's the next one coming?
Yeah, that's always tough. I mean, I spent a part of my life doing like contract job, video production stuff and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I used to be a painter for a while, and it's always so feast and famine. When you make money, and then sometimes you just don't.
Right.
That said, though, I mean, you're not a dummy, so you can learn how to navigate the ups and downs, and
Well, and it's it's just one of those things. It's just like anything else. You keep your leads, and when. I had a guy the other day. It's like, I really want the ring that I looked at, when you're at Riddles. Can you still get something like that? And I was like, yep. I pulled the same thing up and, put it all together in a package for him. I said, hey, here's where we're at. I can get it for you. And, it was going to be like $1,000 less than what he was going to pay before. So he was happy. He was like, I just bought a house and my money's tied up. I don't want to finance it because then she's going to find out and yada, yada, yada. So he's just squeaking me cash. I said, here's
putting it on the layaway program.
Basically. Yeah,
there you go.
So, and I said, the diamonds are always going to change. I can't hold the diamond for you, but the mountings will always be there. So we'll set it up. You just make payments, and it's kind of a kitty. Fun.
You just got to make sure that you're smart and not spend that money.
Right. Well, yeah, that's easy. It just goes into a separate fund. But
that's what you really need to do. Yeah. Like hold it in a trust fund, because I know that I would be fucking horrible.
I could borrow from there quick.
Oh, I totally would. I wouldn't even borrow. That's my money. I'm spending that shit.
Right.
And I'd be like, oh fuck, I got to go buy this guy a $5,000 diamond now. God damn it.
Right. But no, it's
I'm gonna have to rob a jewelry store.
It's been good.
Take a check. Take a check. You take a check from
no
me.
checks. No, I will not take checks.
You learned your lesson.
I learned, won and burned. But I like my entrails where they're at. But it's just been kind of fun. So we're just kind of living life, and I joke and say I'm semi-retired, and it's that's kind of until I figure out what I want to be when I grow up.
I mean, I haven't seen you for a while, but you seem fucking happy as shit and look healthy, and yeah.
It's I think I fully decompressed like a week ago.
Well, I just like you not dressing like a turd.
I almost wore the suit up here. I was in it earlier, and I was like,
really?
I was like,
man, I would never put that fucking thing back on. I used to have to tie a tie every day for 8 years when I was married, and I was like, oh man, I just hate that feeling that.
Yeah.
And even when I married Kyle and Christine, and I like wore a suit,
sleeveless T-shirt.
No, I wore a suit, but I was just like, I just felt like, I just not me.
Yeah. You know, that was the other thing I realized after I realized that I never really took any vacations and stuff. And no wonder why everybody's always crabby around me. I was crabby around them. I didn't even know it.
Right.
I was just stressed out to beat hell
For
all the
sure.
time. But, you know, when we did when we were going to go to Florida, we were getting ready to leave. And I'm looking, I was like, I don't have any fucking clothes to wear.
Right.
I got 60 suits.
Right.
You know?
All you have is these suits.
Yeah. I don't have anything else. It's like... Yeah,
cutting off suits and shit like that, making shorts out of them
Yeah.
and stuff.
Cut off.
Sleeveless fucking suit.
The one day, you know, in the metropolis of Rice, and like most places, we have a Dollar General, and the lady was like, "Oh, I don't know, sugar or something." I don't know. She was cooking something. She's like, "You want to go to the dollar store?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I went and I come back. She's like, "Did you go to the dollar store in a hoodie and pajama pants?" I was like, "Who the hell do I got to impress?" And we live
And
in
I
Rice.
sold a fucking $5,000 diamond ring when I was there.
Yeah, right. You know, it's 2 blocks away from us, and we live in Rice. Right?
Yeah.
Who cares?
I like Rice. It's a good
Yeah.
community. I almost bought a house there a long time ago, but
Yeah, it's a nice little metropolis. I like being there.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, just like when you had to go to the psycho woman's house, you brought a friend
Yeah,
because you're afraid
Yep.
of being fed to a little tiny dog.
And when we were first pulling up, I got Adrian with us, Washington, the funny man, and I got to know him actually. Good friend, customer of mine, James Trantina, first introduced me to him. James owns all the Collins brothers, like the Collins brothers towing up here in Brainerd.
Oh, okay.
And one in St. Cloud, and I don't know, he's got like 12 different ones now, I think. But anyway, he first introduced us, and Adrian did some stuff at James's wedding. He did a little stand-up routine there too, and stuff. But that's where we first met. And then he had me do some work. I built him a little logo necklace, and we kind of hang out ever since then. But he's going to be breaking into the Brainerd scene.
Yeah, is he good at defending against little tiny dogs? Is that...
He is. That was actually I seen a video of him on YouTube chasing a Chihuahua, and I was like, that guy is coming with me wherever I go.
I got to get Adrian.
He actually he was the nicest guy I ever met when I was on D Block, and that's.
Well, he's got a great laugh. Like I said, we don't usually have a studio audience, but today Adrian came up and he's been listening to the podcast. So we're gonna take a little break and then we're gonna have Adrian on, and it'll be good. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No. I appreciate you guys having me on and hanging out with you. And if there's anybody out there who needs anything, by all means, even if you don't trust these two, you can trust me with your jewelry needs, and I'll take care of it.
Trust me.
Or they get fed to the Chihuahua.
Antonio Brown jewelry.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, Tony.
Yep. Thanks.
All right. Welcome back to Spitballing. I'm Matt Taylor. Here with my good buddy
Kyle Amundsen.
And we have our second guest of the evening, Adrian Washington, in the house. How you doing, Adrian?
I'm good. This is good shit.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming up and hanging out with us. Tony, that was nice to hear you over there giggling while we had Tony on. Yeah.
I know what you mean, though, because usually you don't have an audience. It's like, it's weird. And being a comic, I'm like, I need fucking immediate feedback.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. So if nobody laughs, then I'm like, oh, fuck, that joke was a bomb.
Right.
Because Kyle doesn't laugh at a lot of my jokes. But I
noticed that.
Well, it's just because he's fucking not listening. He don't listen to a fucking word I say.
I'm busy. I'm thinking about my next joke.
That's
right. So he's got his own joke.
That's exactly. We always say. I always can tell when Kyle's coming up with a joke because it looks like he's gonna poop. He gets this.
Because I'm super easy to read. So he's always like, I knew you had something. I'm like, oh yeah, I did.
And it's
funny.
about an 80% likelihood it's gonna be something about fucking your cousin. That's like,
Well, man, the
Everybody
inbreeding
does
shit, man. Like,
I mean, you from up here. You've seen it.
Yeah, it's
Stearns County Syndrome. That's real shit.
So, Adrian, you are a stand-up comic.
I am. I have been for quite a while now. I started actually February 24th will make 16 years, man.
16 years just doing stand up, and that
Yeah.
and that's been your like main line of work.
No, fuck no. I sold weed for a little while.
Well,
had a job. Took money from women. No, actually, I just quit my job. It'll be 2 years on the 21st of this month.
that you've been just
Been
being
doing it
that
full time.
stand up full time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, because wife and kids, man, you got to really know you're gonna make money. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like my wife, and I'm the diva in the fucking relationship. She just looks like it. I'm the one that spends money like it. Like I just know I'm gonna get it again.
So that's how you know Tony, because you were like fucking. Oh, I gotta buy her a ring. And
Everybody asked that. They're like, so all this shit. Because I talk about my wife a lot in my set. They're like, do you have to buy something every time? I said, nah. It's cheaper just to get it drunk. Then she'll remember none of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's very true.
Gotta keep it moving.
So you like go all over the place,
Yeah.
and to do stand up.
Yeah, I'm based out of St. Cloud, man. You can find my dates on funnymanadrian.com. That's my website. But yeah, I've been all over. I toured the nation. I actually went up to Canada. I took third place in a festival in Canada in May.
Cool.
Yep. So I performed. I toured in Canada for a week. So weed's legal. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I realized then I shouldn't eat edibles when I was driving from Canada.
Oh no, nobody should eat edibles.
Oh, fuck, especially driving.
Well, really, I can't even imagine that. I can't even imagine eating an edible and driving.
Well, because it would take you fucking like a month to drive out of Canada that way, man. Like it's not like other shit.
I got a joke about it, man. I tell people, I was in like a 60-mile-per-hour zone, man. I had cruise control set at 37 because 35 felt too slow, but 40 fucking felt like tunnel vision. Like I was just like, I can't control this car. Yeah, it was bad. And I don't usually do edibles, but my wife's from out west. She's from Olympia, Washington, so she's like my weed guinea pig.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Because she's been doing it way longer than me. So I'll usually have her try the shit. And if she's like, I'm high as shit, I'm like, nah, that ain't my brand.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or if she hits it 4 times and she's super high, I'm like, okay, that's a one puffer for me. You know
Right.
what I mean? I'm the drinker of the relationship. I'm like, I know if I fucking take 3 shots, what that's going to do to me.
Right.
That's why I can't perform high either.
I think that's the thing about weed that's so, well, like Kyle and I talk about it all the time. Neither one of us are any good at smoking weed. I'm like horrible. Like I actually have almost like an allergic reaction to weed. Like I drool a lot, and it makes
real?
me like, yeah, it's bad.
Fuck,
And I
what kind of
become,
weed you
and I become, no, that's what everybody says. That's what fucking everybody says is, oh
it
no,
all in your
you
mind?
just need to have the sativa. Dude, it doesn't fucking matter. 2
It
or
does
3 puffs
kinda.
of anything and I go retarded. My jaw goes slack. I drool a ton.
Well, I think
and
one thing
I
for
get
sure.
ridiculously stupid.
Weed is not for you.
Right, 100%.
If you drooling and shit because you smoke some weed, don't ever try
Nope.
heroin.
I decided it wasn't for me because I get so fucking like lazy, and even if I'm not like fucking lazy, I can't smoke weed when I'm out. Like I've never been able to smoke weed when I'm out in public because I get fucking like I'm an outgoing guy, like
you guys are
I'm,
my guys.
but I fucking go like I go out and goddamn, if I smoke when I'm out, then I'm like
Right.
I'm just shy and fucking awkward and shit, and that's not me.
That's funny because I tell people all the time, like, my wife can still get high and be a parent. I got high the other day and told my kids, I was like, I ain't even y'all real daddy. She's out there taking care of being a real parent and shit. I'm just like, I just want to watch some shit I've seen already so there's no surprises. You know what I mean? Like, and it's funny because I'll talk about weed on stage, so people always, when I get off stage, or people who've heard my podcast or something, they'll be like, hey, I got some weed before. I'm like, I can't fucking smoke before a show.
Right.
Man,
That'd be
no way.
You know what I mean? Like, but I got
I'd be
friends
terrified.
I got friends that get high as possible and go hit the stage and fucking just rip.
Right.
That's like fucking when I was in college, like the guys that I hung out with, like I'd get done in the weight room, then I meet up with these guys, and they would all smoke. Like we go play like pickup games all afternoon. We were playing basketball and shit. And I'm the only one that's not high. Everybody else high as fuck, and I'm like, how in the fuck? Like I can't even play video. Video games at the most.
Right.
Like that's the most I can fucking most energy I can muster.
A lot of guys I know that smoke a lot of weed though, they think they're fucking funny as shit when they're high though.
You gotta learn.
You're like factor of how funny you think you are goes up exponentially.
Creative too. Like I used to be like, no. Like, a couple of times I was like,
You think you're so deep.
yeah. Would I? Because you enjoy shit more, like the enhancement smoker thing. You might enjoy some shit more, like a particular show, whatever. Like, and I was always, I was like, man. Yeah, this is great. This is great. I'd read something when I was high. I'm like, oh, this is fucking deep.
Right.
And then try to like do some creative shit, like try to write when I was high. Well, first of all, it's in fucking crayon, and it should be. Fuck that.
But and I feel the same way about alcohol. But with alcohol, it's kind of like people who like play pool or play darts. Or one thing I do a lot of, which is little weird, but I like to throw knives and axes. And me and my son got into it a while ago, and we
other people are playing darts.
Sometimes. But no, I have a range in my shop, and we throw
That's
darts.
funny. Speaking of
throw axes and knives.
That, like when I was in Canada, the club is downstairs, and there was a fucking axe throwing thing upstairs.
Yeah, I know, it's a real deal. Right.
Damn.
In a bar.
And it's weird because it sounds like thunder. Shit, like you're on stage and all of a sudden you hear boom boom, but it's like you ain't gonna go up there and
that's
say
more
nothing.
like the lumberjack axe throwing kind of that they do, which is super cool. I do more like the Viking style, but it doesn't matter. It's still really cool. But I always find like there's a certain amount of alcohol where you just are on fire. Where you can stick that every time. But then there's just a little bit more alcohol that is a fucking train wreck. So whenever I've done any kind of stand up or anything like that, I've always I feel much better if I go in sober.
I improv a lot, so it doesn't. I'm sharper, I think, if I'm closer to sober, but like I've gotten wasted and killed some shows.
Yeah,
I
think that could definitely happen.
You know what I mean? Because I just
I
don't have jokes to begin with.
It's nothing. There's nothing worse than being wasted and then bombing a show.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But people do it because I remember even starting. I'd go to a show and it's like you drink to try to get rid of the nerves, and then the show would start late, so now you're fucking drunk and nervous.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you're not saying it right. Like you can just feel your heartbeat like sitting in your throat, and you're just like, I got to do something. Like I got to calm down. And man, it's just I remember like being on stage the first time. I was just like, holy shit! And it was a sold out crowd. I didn't tell nobody I was gonna do it, and I was at home in St. Cloud, and so there's people I knew in the audience, and I just was like, oh, fuck. But I was like, should have get off the pot, what I mean?
Right.
And I just did it, and I was scared as shit, but the adrenaline afterwards was like, even still to this day, dude. Like I said, I'm almost 16 years in, and I'll do a good show, and I can't even sleep that night.
No,
you know what I mean? Like I wake up,
that's...
I sleep for a couple hours, I wake up, and I just replay the show, and I hear the laughter and the feedback, and I'm just like, and I'm always like, fuck, I forgot to say this.
So, do you write bits that all then, or do you?
No.
You don't at all.
No.
So you're completely like, but you obviously like say the same stuff sometimes. You tell the same stories, or
some of them, but I can't even tell the story the same way because I wish I could remember some of the shit I said on stage like the next day. That's why I got to get better at like recording myself because I don't record a lot of sets.
Yeah, why don't you record it?
I don't know. I like to leave it there. It's weird. I like for that moment to be that moment, and if I have it in my memory, like, because one thing about when I started comedy, I was a huge fan of comedy before I started being a comedian.
Right. Well, yeah.
And I'd go to these guys' shows, man, and I'd pay $75 for these tickets, and I'd go see this comic, and they'd rip, and then I'd see them 3 years later, and half the shit they do would be the same thing, or it'd be their special or whatever. So I made up, one thing I knew about comedy was I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to be the guy that you're just like, oh yeah, I've heard this set before.
So I listen to a ton, like maybe like obsessive amount of Joe Rogan, and I
He's
love
a super dope dude. I actually got to meet him.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. You were picture you guys. Well, tell that story really quick. Cause
him and Chepelle did a couple shows together. I got to go to the Salt Lake City one. They did an amphitheater, 23,000 people, sold it out, and he was just dope, man. Like he gave me a ride back to because Chepelle and the guys were partying. And Rogan, he had a flight early that morning, and so did I. So I was like, hey, do you mind if I ride back with you? So it's just a 25-minute drive. It's like me, him, and his managers is in there just talking about like the state of comedy. And yeah, he's just super dope. And he's so smart. It's weird because he wants to know about you because he knows if like he talks to you about the shit he knows you and be like, I don't know what the fuck you talking.
See, I was just That's funny too, because I was just watching the episode of his podcast with him and Jocko and
Kelsey Gabbard.
the other day, and I messaged you and I was like, I don't feel so bad about some of the dumb shit that we say on the podcast because him and Jocko both say a lot of dumb shit.
Totally.
And then I was just watching something else with him this morning, and I was like, man, you say a lot of dumb shit. But I mean, I guess like he normally goes like real high, at his podcast.
Not always. I mean, he certainly wasn't on that one. So actually, I definitely don't enjoy the ones as much when Joe is all fucked up. Especially when he and his comic friends get together and get all blasted and then talk. It's like, this is no longer. I'm not learning anything now. I really, really enjoy the ones where he talks with, like scientists and stuff, and he really gets into it. But he's like you said that like he's always asking you shit.
Yeah.
He's always
and it was
constantly.
dope because like Chepelle headlined, like Chepelle closed the show, but halfway through Chappelle's set, Rogan, he called Rogan on stage to take a shot with him, and then they just gave Rogan the mic, and Chappelle's like, just hang out, and they just vibed off of each other. It was like it was some of the dopest shit to ever see. And it's funny because Chappelle's like, we got to get ready to get out of here because we got curfew, you know what I mean? Like we got to be out of here by a certain time, and the crowd kind of started booing, and Rogan goes, fuck, what does it cost for after curfew? He's like, I'm willing to pay a few dollars just to keep this going. And just here 23,000, he's gonna start a fucking riot in here. You know what I mean? Man. But he was so dope. Like I told him, because they were coming to Minnesota. He was coming to Minnesota like 2 months after that. And I was like, yeah, I'm getting tickets for me and my wife to come check you out. He's like, nah, don't buy tickets, man. He's like, just have Dave or Donnell hit me up. He's like, I'll make sure you get tickets. And that bullshit. So cool. You know what I mean? Like front and center, man. Like we fucking hit every bar on our way down there. We got us a hotel. He was at the Excel Center, and it was just dope, dude.
Yeah, that was when he was up for the last UFC. Yeah, super cool. But I listened to a ton of his shows, and I really like when he talks about the process of writing jokes and being and being a comic with comics, because everybody's process is so different.
That's why, like, you ever been to a festival?
To a comic festival?
Yeah.
No.
Like I was literally about to give up on festivals because I've been submitting to them for like 7-8 years, and I submitted to one earlier this year or last year, and I was like, you know what, I'm done. Like this is it. Maybe I'm past this point in my career, whatever. And I got accepted to one, and it was the Big Pine Comedy Festival. It was in Flagstaff, Arizona, which is beautiful. But it was like right on Route 66. You feel like you're just fucking like in the movie Cars. Like, all these hotels and shit. They got great food, great breweries, but it was just dope to meet so many. Like there was 60 other comics there.
Yeah.
So just to see everybody's process, because now you're sharing a room with some of these guys. You guys all having breakfast together. Like it's so dope to sit there with 20 other fucking people who do what you do.
Right.
And that's also where you figure out where you fit in at. Because if you can just riff at the breakfast and, because like
right.
we're shooting the shit out of each other like we've known each other for years. And if you can't handle that, then slide down at the end of the table.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
So then you find out too, like in the lineup later, who you going before, who you going after. Like, that's that motherfucker who's kind of funny at the, you know what I mean? So it just gets you ready. So it helped me, even with Chepelle had a 4-day residency at the Varsity Theater last May. And Donnell, who's actually Larry, he's a friend of mine. He was opening for him, so he was like, hey, come on down. And I went down and we drank and we partied. But and that's when he was working on the stuff for the special for Sticks and Stones. Mm-hmm. Just to see him. And what was dope about it was he did 2 shows some nights. So the first show, he was pretty sober for the most part, and it was just straight an hour. He didn't have an opener or nothing. He just murdered for an hour. And then the second show, he's been drinking, he's been smoking, we've been partying, and he's still sharp as shit because he's so intriguing. Even when he's not doing anything, you're just like, I know he's thinking of something amazing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's weird because you're in a green room that's kind of like this, and he's just one of those guys. We were trying to walk out of the room so he can get ready for the second show, and he's like, where's everybody going? We're like, nah, we're going to leave so you can get ready. He's like, fuck that. He's like, the second show's going to be, And so then he grabs the liquor again and starts pouring shots, and we're fucking drinking shots of tequila and toasting with champagne, and I'm just like, my body's like, what are we doing? Like, we don't do this.
So he would do one show, and that would be, and then he'd do another show, but he'd do basically the same material, right?
Oh, not really.
No, he'd be all.
He's got so much, and like he'd do his hour in the second show, but then he'd sit down and he just
I know, man.
He'd
That
sit
stuff
down
is
and
the
just
best.
fuck, dude, and he'd just be sitting there. He'd just be so real.
Did you
and
watch? Sorry to interrupt, but did you watch Sticks and Stones, which was the last Dave Chepelle special, which was fantastic. But then did you watch the like 20 minutes afterward?
Yeah.
Where where he's all sitting down and he's like, all right, show's over.
When he
What's up, bitch? And he just sits down, fucking talk, and
dude, when he sits
cigarettes.
there and he gets real, and it's just, and even like when the dude's lit, you're just like, I don't know where he's going, because he talks about some real shit, and it showed me like, if you are, I've learned in that moment, I'm like, if you stand on your 10 toes about being who you are, and people know no matter what they say, they can't ruffle your fucking feathers, they eventually learn to leave you the fuck alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if they can, like look how they did Kevin Hart. They just reminded Kevin Hart, like, hey, we still have power. You know what I mean?
Right.
When they didn't let him host the Grammys or the Emmys or whatever. And as clean as Kevin Hart is and as straight laced as he is, there's so much shit Kevin Hart don't touch on. You know what I mean? But that was a reminder that they were just like, you know, just in case you think you're untouchable. But the great thing about Kevin Hart is he had enough money to say, fuck you, I don't need to do it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But even watching Sticks and Stones, there's no other comic in the world that could do what Chepelle did. Because he's probably the only one that's not in the belly of the beast.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. So
Because and I take
what
that
you're
back.
saying is he's one of the only comics in the world that can afford to do what he did.
There you
to
go.
take that
There
much
you
of a
go.
risk. Is that what you're saying?
There you go.
Because I mean, there are some amazingly funny comics out
there
there
is.
that can
He's
perform.
he's very famously turned down a lot of money.
Right.
You know.
Like talks about on his show, he doesn't need any money.
He brought that up too.
I'm
Because
rich, bitch.
he found out Netflix had offered Eddie Murphy $70 million, for one special. And so he was sitting at the table and we were talking about it, and he just sitting there smoking a cigarette. He's like, man, they gave me $60 million for 3. He's like, he got 70 for 1. He's like, I didn't negotiate that too well. You know what I mean? But the story I've heard
Eddie
is,
Murphy's gonna do a comedy special.
He's gonna
Man,
do a special. He's
I
gonna
gotta tell you,
he's
that's-
actually doing a tour next year.
Sometimes
Like-
those don't always go that
no,
well, because like
sometimes because he's.
I
been on
watched
this
Chris Rock, and I used to love, like, I thought before Dave Chepelle, I thought Chris Rock was the funniest man alive. But then when I watched his
Tambourine?
Netflix special, I was like, man.
How old are you, Adrian?
43.
Okay, so we're all about the same age.
Yeah.
So what was the first like comedy like I guess, well, mine was Raw. Like
Yeah.
I went.
Was it Raw or was it Delirious?
No, it was Raw because I snuck because Raw came out, so it would have been 87,
88.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I was 16, rated R, and I had to like sneak into the theater to get to see it.
Richard Pryor.
Yeah, man, Richard Pryor, like the one after he
Live
got
on Sunset Strip and
Live
shit
on
like
Sunset
that.
that's the one after
And-
he got out of rehab.
Yep. And it's
The-
crazy because like my
Light the
uncles-
match.
Yeah.
Yep. He lights a match. Richard Pryor running down the sidewalk.
I'm 6, 7, 8 years old, and my uncles are showing me this shit. You know what I'm saying? They're reciting the jokes, just like even Dolomite. Have you guys seen the Dolomite with Eddie Murphy on Netflix?
Yeah.
Like I learned all that shit when I was like 7 years old, man. So it's weird. So I tease my mom now. I was like, hey, all that fucking bad comedy I was watching when I knew I shouldn't have been watching,
Right.
like it all worked out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So and like Delirious and Raw changed my life almost.
Well,
Because there's so much shit he talked like. Because I never liked Chris Rock. I didn't like Chris Rock till Bigger and Blacker, because he was always too political for me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about politics.
yeah, I'm just not
and-
smart enough. So
Yeah, and I like talking about shit I know about, or at least I can trick you like I know about it. And politics isn't one of those things for me.
Right.
I don't fucking watch. I haven't watched the news in like 15 years. Like
Yeah.
I just stay away from it all.
yeah, yeah. The only political joke I ever like wrote was about how I had like a man crush on Obama, and I want but I was pissed off that he smoked cigarettes because I was trying to keep my 16-year-old kid from smoking cigarettes, and I was like, it fucking sucks because it's like every time I see him, like my son can clearly hear the angels singing behind him, and it's like the fucking like Camel got a fucking product placement in the crucifixion scene. JC's all up there like. That was the only one.
Yeah, so I didn't.
But I didn't really. So that's a political joke. But
No,
it had
it's
nothing-
not even-
It had
it's
nothing
not
to do
even
with it. Well, there was a politician involved. That's as political as my humor. But it's really for me, yeah. Like you say, I'm not smart enough to fucking keep up on that shit.
I don't want to, man. I don't want to get. Plus, it's another one of those things where people can fucking like you and they can change their mind about you the moment you say what side you're on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that and religion and like I
Right,
stay away
right,
from like
right.
mental or physical handicap.
Right.
Because
I don't mind saying something that might offend people. Like I would never want to like approach it that I don't want to say something that will offend people. So or I'm going to stay away from the subject because it'll offend
Right.
people. But we already talk about how everybody's so fucking tribed up now.
Right.
And if somebody says something against your tribe, well then they're the fucking enemy, and that just seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
So plus I'm not in a tribe. I'm not tribey enough to like give a shit. I don't want to swing.
Plus, like you got to just own who you are on the stage. Like whatever I say in that moment, I stand by it. You know what
Right.
I mean, whether I believe the shit or not. Like I've seen Rogan perform one time, and he was just like, "Hey, these next 15 minutes are gonna suck." He's like, "Nobody's gonna like it."
Right.
He's like, "But," he's like, "It's funny shit, and it needs to be said, and there's no bullshit."
And well, when Rogan talks about his process too, he knows he's going in there with some
my
really
gosh.
rough material
But
that
what's-
might not be funny.
What was funny for me was like we were at the we're at the Laugh Factory in LA, and so it's a pretty intimate show, but it's packed, right? And there's a girl and a guy. They've been laughing the whole time in front of me, and he said something about guys with Priuses sucking dicks, and he said the F word, man, and the girl, like the boyfriend's fucking dying laughing. The girlfriend looks over him, and I see the tears rolling down her face, and she looks at him. She goes, "Get up, we're leaving."
Oh,
I was
awesome!
like- yeah, I was
Damn.
like, holy fuck! Like she made him get up. He was looking like, "What?" She's like, "We're out of here."
And then
And then Joe's like, "I told you."
and then she went right to Riddle's Jewelers and wrote a fucking $5,000 check for the ring.
So it's dope. Like but even like Bill Burr's last special,
Yeah,
it was
tough. I didn't.
I liked it a
didn't
lot
love
better
it.
than I did his two previous.
I might not be actually thinking of Bill Burr's last special. Honestly, I don't watch
Paper
it.
Tiger.
It was talking about fat people, all about that. That was the big thing. And
No,
maybe that was
he almost did like the white version of Sticks and Stones.
I'll have to watch it
He
again.
he filmed it in like
I don't
London though. I think.
watch a ton of stand-up comedians anymore. I used to love it.
I just got
don't
back
as
into
many.
it. For the longest time, I didn't like. I just got out of it, like. But lately, I've been, well, I listen to like Netflix is a joke radio in the car,
Yeah.
which I fucking love. And like you were talking about the process and stuff. I've never done stand up. I could never do. Like he's always like, you could do stand up. I'm like, no fucking way.
I don't believe it.
I stammer too much. I fidget too much. Like there's all kinds of reasons.
We all
I couldn't
fidget.
fucking do it.
I watched a video of me the other day and I was like, God damn, I still do that. But it looks normal. But to me, I know what it is. I literally just I play with my pocket. Like I don't know what to do with this hand because this hand's holding the mic. But I don't know if this hand should be in my pocket or sometimes it just plays with the pocket. It's weird.
But I've been like lately. I've been watching so much stand up and listening to so much shit. I even listened to like Fortune and Papa's show on Netflix. They've got like a weekly shit. No, daily. Fuck. Anyway, it seems like it's daily. It's always fucking on. Man, I really like. There's some guys that I really appreciate. Like I fucking love Jim Jeffries.
Yeah.
He's funny as fuck. But man, there's and I was gonna ask you guys both, who are your least favorite comedians? I mean, you actually meet people and shit, so you might not be able to answer this question. But because there's
Like comedy wise or fucking personal.
just comedy wise, yeah. Because there's
You
like,
know what's weird? I respect everybody that does it because I know everybody can't do it. And if you are on TV, that means you worked your ass off or you did something to get in that position. So for me, I try to tell myself, even though it's not my kind of shit, I still respect what you do.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I kind of go there with it. I mean,
because you remember the guy with the puppets? He was kind of
like the
big for a
whole,
while
like,
there. He had like that
jalapeno on a stick. Yeah,
like that guy. I fucking hated that guy. But there's a few other comedians out there that I'm like,
yeah, most guys you pull out a puppet, you're gonna lose me.
prop comedians.
Yeah.
Even though
But I was telling somebody this the other day. Look at Carrot Top. Carrot Top's been killing it in Vegas for
Man, is he still doing
But
it?
Carrot Top's,
Fuck yeah.
but it's the acquired taste, man. I mean, that's
It's definitely
yeah.
So that's the thing. It's all acquired. And I tell people, even with me, I'm just like, I might not be your cup of tea, and I can live with that. I'm totally fucking fine with that. You know what I mean?
But see, I think there are.
Well, I was thinking about this when I was listening to.
I think there are things that are universally objectively funny, and
Yeah.
like so when you have a comedian that really hits on shit that's universally objectively funny,
Right.
it's pretty tough not to like really like.
Shit, really, shit has to be really relatable, Well, that doesn't. I guess I shouldn't say it has to be relatable, but it sure seems to help if stuff is relatable.
I think you gotta just sell it. That's why I think Eddie's still gonna be good, because Eddie's fucking.
So that's
one
what I
of
was
the
wondering,
most
because it's been a
charismatic-
long ass time.
And he
since
says he's
he's-
nervous about it. You ever watched the comedians getting coffee with like Jerry Seinfeld?
No, seen clips on YouTube.
Yeah, same here.
But I've been wanting to like watch more.
It's
of it 'cause
really good.
That's what everybody
It's
says.
really good. man.
Yeah, Rogan always says.
And he
He's-
kind of gets
that,
the cars that fits like the comedian's personality or whatever. So it's super dope.
Yeah.
But I think with
Joe says Seinfeld's better at that than he was at doing Seinfeld.
probably, I think Eddie's gonna pull it off just because he's that charismatic.
Well, he is the person that most influenced me in my life, and I mean, I've only done stand-up comedy half a dozen times or a dozen times probably, but not. There was a point in my life though where I thought this is what I want to do with my life, but I didn't. But I could never make that jump to like
Why?
the road.
Why?
I always had a business, like wife, kids, like I could never leave. Honestly, it wasn't the wife and kids as much as it was the business. So I like for the last 20, fucking 20-ish years. Yeah, I always owned a business until more recently, until the last 5-6 years, and so I was always kind of married to that thing.
Gotcha.
So I would be able to go out and do it. I'd go and do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was never able to make the jump. But I would have loved to like take a swing at it. But that lifestyle would have been tough.
It is, and I think that's what works for me now. Like I was, me and my wife been married now a little more than 5 years, but like she's my biggest supporter. So we only have one kid at home full time. My other kid comes every other weekend, and me and his mom get along. So they know I work for myself, so it works out. You know what I mean? But knowing you got somebody at home to help take care, because I just started really hitting the road maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Every now and again I go out to LA and stay out there for like a week, or go to Atlanta and hang out there for like a week or so. But like getting booked, and I've never had an agent until like 2 years ago. And this is just an agency because I've kept myself pretty busy. So I'm just like, the days I can't keep myself busy, maybe you guys can help fill them in. You know what I mean? So now there's this agency that they work with me quite a bit actually. And so that's how I'm able to get away. And like I said, I quit my job. So now if I can find a gig on a Tuesday or Wednesday or something, then I can make that happen now. I don't have to ask anybody about it. You know what I mean? So, and the great thing about my wife is I can not be booked and be like, hey, somebody called me. She's like, all right, do what you got to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that helps out a lot. So I don't think I could have really been too much of a road comic before. But the great thing about it was like I started my own like comedy scene like in St. Cloud.
Right, because I didn't really know that there was such a
You know what I mean?
that there
So-
was much of a comedy scene in St. Cloud. There didn't used to be at
I've been
all.
booking my own shows for over 14 years now.
Yeah.
So I never really had to rely on anybody else, because I knew one thing about doing it the way I wanted to do it was I got to start my own shit, because the cities like Minneapolis was just too fucking sensitive for what I want to do. And then when I was trying to go to Minneapolis and go to Acme and shit, and they're just like, oh,
I fucking love Acme.
I don't.
No, what? Just booking shit there, or the show, or the acts that they get.
I didn't have a good relationship with the club, so I haven't been there. And it's a great club, don't get me wrong. But like when I was going down there for the open mics and I was driving, and I'd ask them about, if you see my name on the list once a month, being that I'm driving from St. Cloud, can I just get on stage for the 3 minutes? And they're like, well, it's totally random. And I'm like, well, it's kind of weird because I see the same people all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just kind of started to figure out how cliquey shit really was, and I was just like, fuck it.
That's just kind of the way it is.
It is. And what was great
Everyone
about
else will
that is
tribe up.
they made me figure it out myself. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I'm glad it all happened that way, because I literally figured it out for myself. I started my own company a few years back, One Mic Entertainment. So now I book all my shows under that. Like I go back, and I'm actually just I just got a contract with my old high school where I can go and I'm gonna teach kids how to perform on stage.
Oh, that's
You know what I mean?
awesome.
So I'll go over there 1 hour a week and kind of give back to the schools and shit like that. So that's the dope thing about it is it's really, and once you figure out, like I've figured out this is the one thing I'm supposed to be doing in life. Like this is literally why I was put here.
So we are running out of time because I know Tony's got to go
Slang some jewelry.
sling some. Yeah, he's got to go make a deal. But I did want you to mention your podcast before you went. So you started a podcast a while ago.
I just did episode 18 last week, and it's called Comedy and Kinfolk. So the word comedy and symbol, the word kinfolk.
Okay.
It's on SoundCloud. And it's also on iTunes. But I also have a Facebook page. So make sure you check that out. The episodes usually air. I download them, I think, Saturday morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you do them about once a month?
Once a week.
Oh, you do them once a week?
Yeah, once a week.
Oh, okay. I thought you said before you do them once a month. So you're just a little bit behind us?
Yeah,
This
like
is show
just a
26.
few months ago. And
Well, we'd love to definitely have you come back on
Yes,
the show
yes.
and do our
I definitely will.
our full meal 3.5 hour deal. And yeah, because you got a lot of shit I want to talk to you about.
yeah.
I have a whole I'm just like, we're gonna have to stop. What's your least favorite comedian?
Lately, one that I hear a lot because of listening to Netflix's joke is fucking Mike Epps. Actually, I feel like I'm too old to listen to him anymore. You know, like that's one thing I've noticed. The older I get, you know, like a little bit, you know, some shit changes. That's why I'm like, you know, when I was talking about Chris Rock, I'm like, did Chris Rock's shit change or did my sense of humor change?
Right, that might
And
happen.
and Mike, you know, I feel like Mike Epps, like his shit, like I feel like is real, like, you know, is
Mike Epps is like the drunk uncle at a barbecue.
yeah, dude.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's probably the perfect way. Yeah, that's.
I kind of understand because I mean he's been coasting on, and then he's a great guy. Like I've met him. I've been invited down to check his shit out. You know what I mean? But it's just like I'm just like you are coasting like a motherfucker
Yeah.
off of being Mike Epps.
Right.
Like you know what I mean? Like it's like I say, it's especially me. Like that's almost anybody's black drunk uncle. That's just that Thanksgiving. You're like, you know, he gonna be drunk talking about bitches and shit again.
Yeah, you know,
He gonna show up with a different bitch, and that bitch gonna get mad, and you know what I'm saying? It's so I get it
yeah,
because
shit.
I've seen comics like at his last special. I seen somebody, one of my good comedy buddies posted like Mike Epps' special was better than Chepelle. I almost deleted that motherfucker.
Oh.
He was like, "Nah, I just mean it seemed like he had more fun." I was like, "Yeah, because he ain't got to write none of this shit. He
Yeah.
just he's still saying the same shit."
It's just really, yeah, it's super predictable.
Very, very. And I don't think he works at it. I don't think he works at it. I think he's making enough money where he's got a very, very nice life. But I always tell everybody there's a reason why when you got to have 5 and 6 other guys on a show to sell the show out. That lets you know. There's like 3 black comics that can probably come to Minnesota and sell out like the Target Center.
Man, then there's, you know, but there's other comics out there that I like. Wanda Sykes, I did not like her before, but man, I think she's funny as hell now.
What about Michael Shea?
I don't know if I know who that is.
Trevor Noah?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Some of them motherfuckers are clever.
yeah.
Some of them,
shit,
are even like those 85, like some of the guys from Wild 'N Out, those 85 South boys, like DC Young Fly, like DC's come a long ways.
Man, I'm gonna have to hit you up so you can recommend some guys. To me.
I got
For
Before
sure.
you come back on, I'm gonna have to brush up on some comics. 'Cause, like my least favorite comics, you know, like I can go with some really low hanging fruit, but I mean, I've never been a big fan of the Redneck Boys, the Jeff
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Foxworthy, those guys.
Larry the Cable Guy. That shit
Larry
makes
the
me.
Cable Guy.
Yeah.
But I'm, yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I remember.
we're not
I
their
remember
target
watching
audience
one
either,
of the Larry the Cable Guy special, and I was like, I mean, I don't even smile. It's like this is not funny at all.
No,
I tried, who shit did I watch? You know, I tried to watch, Arsenio Hall's got a new one. I
was
tried
wondering
watching
about
it, bruh, and I just couldn't do it.
Man.
Yeah, I
And see,
think that,
that makes me feel almost bad because I like him a lot.
Right.
And I want to like his shit.
That's
you know, but
that has a time, that has a like an expiration date on it.
Yeah.
But it's just like I'm watching and I like the guy. And
I'm excited about him and Eddie doing Coming to America.
Oh, yeah,
again.
Coming
That'll
to
be
America,
fucking fun.
what?
Yeah,
they're doing part 2. It's on. They're shooting it right now.
Yeah.
And
And
that's it.
Arsenio Hall's in it as well.
Even with Even Chris Tucker. I seen Chris Tucker's special a few years ago on, and then it just wasn't because Chris never really worked stand-up.
Yeah, and his shelf life was short. Like
yeah,
that,
he did
you
Def
know.
Comedy, killed it. Got Friday, fucking after Friday, he got Rush Hour.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He never toured as a comic. You know what I'm saying? But he was a beast, like, when he came out. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Low key, a lot of motherfuckers forget how funny Jamie Foxx was.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, now I'm like, that motherfucker could be anybody.
Right?
He's awesome.
But
Man,
Jamie's tough
Django
to beat,
Unchained, man.
There was some shit like
Remember that fucking I Might Need Security dude? Like, he was a monster.
like Carlos Mencia, even though he's still like his name is Mud now, but like, man, when I watched an HBO special before I even knew who the hell he was, and that shit was hilarious.
Well,
George
because
Lopez.
he didn't write his own jokes.
Yeah.
George
Lopez
Lopez is a beast.
Like,
Fucking Eddie Griffin still kills.
I remember Eddie Griffin.
Eddie's still a monster. He's fucking drunk as shit, so you don't understand everything all the time. But
that's all right.
you know, I mean, he's still killing. I got to see. That's the dope shit about. I got to witness like the Kings of Comedy like live. I was at Target Center. I was like 20-something years old in fucking 1999, and I sat there and everybody was smoking weed. And I got to watch Steve Harvey, Bernie Mac, Said the Entertainer, and D.L. Hughley like just fucking murder one after another. And Monique, and it's crazy because when everybody was bitching about Monique not being funny, I've never seen a female. Me personally, I've never seen a female that made me laugh harder than Monique.
Man, I didn't like female comics for the longest time.
Yeah.
But now, like, you know, now I think Sarah Silverman's really funny, you know. I mentioned Wanda Sykes, you know, she's funny as hell.
Yeah.
But for the longest time, I wasn't really
I
feeling
can't
them.
remember the name of that comedian. I should look it up, but she does a show about getting cancer. Do you remember that one? So like she's a female comic. I fucking can't remember her name, but she's supposed to go on this. She's supposed to have the show, and she finds her diagnosis comes in, and she fucking finds out she has cancer. So she goes on the show, and she fucking kills it with this very frank talk about fucking finding out that she had cancer.
crazy.
And
I think
it
I've
is
heard about
fucking hilarious. It was on some NPR.
We
thing.
definitely got to do this again.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will. We'll put links to your.
appreciate it.
Tell me your website again, though.
My website's funnymanadrian.com.
Funnymanadrian.com, and
Yep.
then
You can also find me on Instagram at funnymanadrianw. My Facebook is funnymanadrian, and the podcast is Comedy and Kinfolk.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome, Adrian. Well, it was a pleasure to meet you. I'm really glad Tony drug you along.
I'm
Thank
glad
you
I
for
came out,
protecting
man.
him from those
Thank you.
little tiny dogs. We don't want him getting bit up. And we'll hit you up on Facebook. We'll get
Definitely. I'll
next
definitely
time
be
you're up
back.
in the area. Especially if you're gonna have a show.
Yeah, we're gonna
get you up
make
here,
something happen.
and then we'll because we'd like to. Yeah, so any of you out there in our vast audience, if you
Both of you.
if any of you have any line on a good venue in this area, we'd like to get Adrian back up here as quickly as possible. So, all right, guys, we will see you next week. We're not 100% sure on what our guest is. One thing I did want to say before we go, though, is on December 15th, which is a Sunday, the Kai Guy and I are going to be at this winter warm-up. We're going to be guest bartending at the Roundhouse Brewery from 2 to 5, and it's a fundraiser for the We Are Clinic, which has something to do with rubbers. And as Kyle likes to say,
Well, what do I have to say about rubbers? No, thank you.
so we're going to be there promoting the We Are Clinic, much to their
They're great for other people. I'm married now.
much
Fuck
to
you.
their demise. Anyway, should be fun. Going to be doing a live podcast there, so that's December 15th. So if you guys want to come out and decide who's the better bartender, it will be me. All right, we'll see you next time. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning into the podcast this week. That was a lot of fun having Adrian on. We're going to have him back, and also Tony Brown was amazing. Today we're going to take you out with a song, again by the band Skittish, that I've been obsessed with for so long. I just miss these guys. I wish they were still playing. This song is called A Million Shades of Grey. I love it. Check it out.
Though no one can tell, it's causing your hell. You hide it so well. She lives in a town full of clear glass homes, and she keeps a bucket of rocks in her basement. And she puts another bouquet at the side of the way where the rails cross over the road. And she's so unsure. If you take my hand for really white, and you take my love to really bright, and she waits like death by my side with the answer for me. And it's true, oh it's so true, no one really knows you. You've just pretended so long, with only 10 fingers to point. The 11th failure is my own, of the botched and of the bungled. And you're still unsure. If you take my hand, hold me right, and you take my love so really bright, and she waits